Welcome to Through the Looking Glass. Today's episode, Government Overreach. And now I'll hand it over to Russ.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to TTLG Podcast, Through the Looking Glass. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow us wherever you can find us. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble. We're going to be on all these platforms. We're on most of them right now. Just get us out there. Start being a part of the conversation and join us on this journey. If you are local to our area where we're at, and you have interests or you want to talk about specific topics, reach out to us, especially on Facebook. We're easy to find. TTLG Podcast, all one word. You'll easily find us. We have a banner and our logo symbol. You'll see the rabbit. Just follow us, talk to us, comment, do whatever, reach out to us. We'll get back to you, let you know. We're just trying to have these conversations.
Yeah,
Like, share, subscribe, comment, and smash that rumble button.
Pull up.
And I'm here also.
Who are
Jesse.
you? I hate this.
I mean, so far the vote is overwhelmingly yes for the sultry entry. So.
I think it's you.
Absolutely.
I think it's you on 5 separate accounts doing
it. I've only got 2 YouTube accounts.
That proves it. The votes are rigged.
That's awesome. Can you do that? You're not allowed to do that, right? You're about to get banned.
No. Well, one's for...
that might be Facebook.
One's for, like, just my personal ones, like, you know, when I used to upload videos about psychedelics.
Yeah. So government overreach. Definitely let us know if you've ever experienced or noticed such things.
There's definitely people in this area that have with the sticker shops.
We have seen it plenty. We're going to tell you about different examples that we know of and hopefully discuss what we see might be the solution to it.
Oh, yeah. We never talked about, has that ever happened to us personally? Like government barging in when they...
I mean, I guess if you consider the sheriff's department government, then yeah, I've had the sheriff's department in the area definitely overstep their boundaries with me. I got pulled over one night here in Southport, coming back from Smoking Joe's down there in PA, and I got pulled over for my tail light being, or not my tail light, my license plate light being out.
What's your favorite go-to now?
Yeah, because that's an easy one to hit someone for, because, I mean, I couldn't tell if it was out or not. So the guy comes and tells me that, hey, yeah, your taillight is out, blah, blah, blah. And next thing I know, he wants to search my car. And I'm guessing it's because I had my locks at the time, dreadlocks, but I like to call them fairy locks, just because of my heritage. So I can only assume that because of the locks in my hair, he thought, oh, this fucking dirty hippie's got some weed in here. I know he does. Nope. So he wanted to search my car. I told him, no, I do not consent. I said, you pulled me over for a traffic infraction of my license plate lamp being out. I do not consent to any search or seizures. Smelling cannabis is not probable cause, and he didn't smell cannabis because there was none in the car. So he calls his superior, and his superior shows up, and because of this is actually why I don't fully roll my window down anymore when dealing with police. His superior comes, tells me to get the fuck out of the vehicle, and I'm saying, well, what for? I haven't broken any laws. Like, there was a traffic infraction where my light was out, and now he wants to search my vehicle with no warrant to do such. There was no probable cause, anything. So his superior reaches through my window, unlocks my door, opens the door, reaches across me, unbuckles my seatbelt, and yanks me out of the vehicle. When he pulled me to the back of the car, I, in a very stern voice, told him, look, I didn't serve 4 years in the Marine Corps and spend 9 months in Iraq to come home and get treated like this. And his whole demeanor immediately changed because he was in the Army. So his whole demeanor changed. I said, look, just because I got locks in my hair and I look like a hippie doesn't mean I'm always carrying around pounds of weed for you guys to find, because I'm not. So that was probably my best example. Other than that, I can't really think much, because there was a time I got away with not getting my car searched in Illinois when we were traveling the country, which would have been a fucking nightmare because everything we owned at the time still was in the car with us when we were traveling the country. That would have been a nightmare, and there was some illegal shit in the trunk that day.
Oh, you just admitted to it.
Well, they can't get me now.
For myself, I don't really have any examples except for like younger partying with friends and stuff like that. House parties got a little too loud, and I'm not sure if a lot of people do know this, but the police are absolutely allowed to lie to you. Like, they're legally allowed to. They could say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. And I was never really taught younger that, hey, you can just refuse these things. I thought, oh, police are ultimate authority. So they would knock on the door. Oh, what's going on? Can we come in? It's like, oh, yeah, you're the cops. Like, I can't tell you no. Like, why are you even asking? Now, realizing better, after researching and looking into like First Amendment stuff, which I've been big on for years. One thing I do recommend everybody, follow Long Island Audit on YouTube. He is an absolutely fantastic First Amendment auditor, and you will learn a lot from him. He is my favorite because he stays respectful and he will follow the law to a T. He doesn't do anything outlandish. He's not trying to get a rise out of people. He simply walks into places with a camera. People get butt hurt, and then he stands up for his rights.
I love that guy.
Long Island Audit. He's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the things that I actually want to start doing when we get like a mobile portion of this. First Amendment audits. It is so important that people truly do understand their rights as an American citizen and how to flex them. It is just like every other muscle in your body. If you don't use it, if you don't know how to use it, it will get weak and eventually your bone will break.
Use it or lose it.
You have to know what your rights are, and you have to be willing to stand up for them and enforce them. Otherwise, problems with the police like this will arrive, where they will abuse you because they believe they have more power than they actually do.
And that's where you tell the cop, I have the right to tell you to shut the fuck up.
You absolutely do.
They might get upset about that, but you do have that right.
That
has First Amendment.
That has been ruled in Supreme Court that you are absolutely allowed to say these things to a cop. You can flip them off. You can tell
Definitely
them to
hurt
go
their
fuck
ego,
themselves. Though. You're absolutely allowed to. It is a First Amendment right to say these things. Now, you can't say, I'm going to kill you because that's illegal. You can't threaten somebody with violence, but you absolutely have the right to tell a cop to go fuck himself. Is it a good idea? No.
Yes.
Because, they do have handcuffs and they have buddies in the police station, so it's probably not a good idea. But standing firm on your rights and knowing what you are allowed and the things that you can do to defend yourself against them is very important. One of my favorites is I do not answer questions. If you are being investigated for some kind of crime, so let's just give an example. You're walking down the sidewalk. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're literally just walking down the sidewalk. Cop pulls up to you, says, hey, I want to speak to you for a minute. You don't technically have to oblige, but you must ask, am I being detained? They have to answer you. If they don't, you continue walking. Eventually, if they put their hands on you and say, you're under arrest or you're being detained, your go-to is, I do not answer questions. Simply that. Until you learn more about your rights, like different things you can ask, what's the articulable suspicion of a crime, or what crime do you think I am committing? They don't have to answer, but they should, or they'll just try to make something up. You can ask to talk to a supervisor, things like this. Just you don't answer questions.
You got to watch out, though, because in my case, the supervisor coming was worse.
Yes, but that's also very important why you do. As bad as these cell phones are because we're being spied on all the time, it is crucial that if you feel a situation like that is arising, you pull out your phone immediately and you start recording. Just like police have body cameras, you have just as much right to film them as they do you. This has also been ruled in the Supreme Court. Any government official or public servant It doesn't matter where or when. If they are in their line of duty, if they're doing their job, you have a right to record them. So in any government building, unless previously stated, there's certain exceptions for like courthouses, you have a right to walk into the DMV with a camera recording. That is your right. You have a right to do that because they're in the course of their job, and you have a right to know what is going on and to observe them in their line of duty. A lot of people get upset about this, and it makes them uncomfortable. That doesn't matter. I get uncomfortable when I'm walking down the road at 3 o'clock in the morning and a random police officer pulls me over. It doesn't matter. It is very, very important that we as citizens in this country recognize that we do have rights and we need to protect them because they're not going to.
Yeah, and their go-to is usually, well, if you haven't committed any crimes, why are you nervous? You got a gun.
Yep.
You have a gun and you kill people all the time for no reason.
And humans have always been known to abuse their power as well.
That is one of the big problems with having power and authority is a lot of people are not fit for it, and they will abuse it. So just like Jesse said, yeah, you have a gun. I don't. I'm the one in threat right now. If at any point in time I make the wrong move and like stick my finger in my pocket, you can unload an entire magazine into me. It won't matter. I'll be dead,
Yeah,
so there's nothing I could do.
9 times out of 10, they're going to be found justified in doing it.
Yeah, and then the police department will investigate their own and say, oh, we found no wrongdoing.
Yeah, he'll be on leave for a week or two.
Yeah. Paid leave.
So
Paid leave.
it is incredibly important that we as a community know our rights and we defend each other in that matter.
Stand up for your rights.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it seems like most people's examples of government overreach is to do with police. Because my example was going to be police as well. One walked into my house and pointed a gun at me because my dog was about to bite them. They didn't knock. They didn't announce themselves. They walked in, walked right up the stairs, pointed the gun at me.
Was your door open?
No, it was not open.
Yeah, that's definitely
So
overreach.
It wasn't. So your door wasn't locked, of course.
They were called for a noise complaint.
A noise complaint. They didn't knock or
They
anything?
didn't knock because I was sitting at
Shit.
at the top of the stairs because of the apartment. It was a weird layout, but I was sitting at the top of the stairs, and then two people walk in uniform. My dog, of course, my dog is gonna try to attack him. They pulled a gun out and said, "We're gonna shoot you and your dog if you don't get it back." And then
Wow.
I went to the police station the next day and. I told the person at the desk about the incident, and they said, "What do you want us to do about it?"
Yeah,
So
good luck
I
filing
said,
a complaint against police.
Okay, yeah, you guys are useless," and just walked out.
I would definitely have to know more about that scenario. I do know that if your door is locked, of course they can't come in. Depending on the warrant that they have, depends on whether or not
Without
they
a
can force.
warrant, they
Yeah.
can't even just
Yeah, a
walk in.
noise
If the
complaint
door is
is not
closed, they
justifiable
can't.
cause.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure if you leave your door wide open, they're allowed to walk in. But if your door is closed, no. That's why if you answer the door for police, you close that door behind you when you go out on the front porch because then they can't enter.
Yeah.
There are circumstances, I'm sure we've all heard an example like this. There's extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
So if there's reason to believe that somebody is being held against their will,
Yeah,
they do. So
Or if you're harboring a fugitive.
there are certain circumstances where they can use an excuse like that to force entry. You would have to talk to somebody that knows a little bit more about New York state law and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that they do have to announce their presence. So
Yeah, that's when I was talking to the dude at the police station, because they lied on the report, said they did knock, they did announce, they didn't do either. And he said they were supposed to.
Interesting. I'd have to look into that further. But that's one of
mean,
those
this
circumstances. Like if you had a Ring camera,
10, 11 years ago.
if it were to happen today and you had like a Ring camera,
Oh, yeah.
It'd be super
Oof.
helpful to have that. Like there was another incident where I was at a buddy's house in 2012 and we were just smoking some weed, but it was still illegal then. And he lived in a little duplex. I'm guessing the neighbors right next door called the police because they smelled the cannabis. And he did exactly what I said. He closed the door behind him, went outside. We're all sitting in there waiting for him to come back in. Next thing we know, the police are barging through the fucking door and walking around his apartment trying to search it. Lucky for him, he had some people living with him that he didn't fully trust, and he did sell weed. So he had a padlock on his bedroom door. And the police were upset that they couldn't get in that room. But, I mean, they had no warrant to be in there searching around. They shouldn't have even came in. And luckily, one of the girls that was at the house with us, her dad was higher up in the police department. And when she brought up who her dad was and told them what they were doing was illegal and that she was going to inform her dad of what they were doing and wanted their names and badge numbers, their whole demeanor changed and they ended up leaving the house pretty quickly.
Yeah. It is a sticky situation for sure. I mean, that's why cameras and everything are so important nowadays.
Oh, speaking of which, did you guys see, I think it was a couple years ago, there was a video of these detectives knocking on a door, and it was 14, 15, 16 year old kid at home, and they had, in the video, you can see them open the door and then knock afterwards, and then they said, oh, since the door was open, we allowed ourselves in. And the kid was like, no, the door wasn't open. And then they, I don't remember what happened. But yeah, they were investigating something. And yeah, you can see in the video, they open the door and then knock afterwards. And the kid comes down the stairs and then they put him in hand. I don't remember if they put him in hand.
Illegal.
So
straight to jail.
What this sounds like is because of the public's ignorance of their rights and the authority that police and other government officials have, we just let them do these things. That's kind of...
You ever see the video of the guy where the one police officer comes walking up to him to ask him a question about something, and the guy just looks at the cop and goes, what do you want, asshole? Because the guy knew his rights and knew that he could get away with that. Now, I do not condone or suggest antagonizing
I don't
the
recommend
police
doing that.
because they are humans that are just doing a job. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't laugh my ass off through this video the way the guy was talking to this cop.
Yeah. There's a lot of 1A auditors that do that on purpose, and I don't condone that either. I do think that they are...
It's dangerous.
Yeah, but they are doing something that is necessary.
But they're allowed to do it.
Yeah. And it is necessary. Like,
Yeah.
police and the government and officials that are supposed to have control over the system that we've agreed upon need to be reminded that we're not their slaves.
They work for us.
They don't think they do.
Maybe they need a swift reminder.
They do need a reminder. But, I mean, right now, with the amount of power they have no fear of us. And that's a problem.
And the fear of us is going to grow less and less the more we allow them to have this much power and abuse that power.
Yeah. Just look at the power that we gave them in 2019 and 2020.
Oh, taking it all the way back to 9/11, several of these examples I have here, which I actually wanted to ask you guys when, at least in our lifetime, can you look back and notice that government overreach began to get more and more out of control? And I would absolutely fall back to 9/11 and the Bush administration.
Directly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Patriot Act and then
several
the TSA.
Yeah,
several of
searching
these
everybody at airports.
several of these examples that I have are from the Bush administration. I mean, if you want, we can go over a couple of these. The warrantless wiretapping. That's a big one, and it was reported for the first time by the New York Times in 2005 that the NSA was basically tapping our phones without warrant to listen into our conversations. That's huge government overreach. I get that they were trying to, quote unquote, find and stop terrorists, but in doing such and scaring people into, being okay with them doing that, we are now losing a freedom to be able to have that privacy, to have conversations. And most people will say, oh, well, if you're not doing anything wrong or not talking about anything illegal, then you shouldn't worry. Well, Scorpios, if you believe anything in astrology, Scorpios love their fucking privacy. I love my privacy. Fucking leave me the fuck alone. And if I want to invite you in, I'll invite you in. Other than that, give me my fucking privacy. Sorry for dropping so many F-bombs. I've been watching some Joe Pesci recently.
So with the NSA, that has to do with Snowden, correct?
Yeah.
Snowden
He's-
exposed the
yeah,
NSA
back in
for their...
2011, no, 2013.
Yeah.
2013, 2014.
I'm
One of
sure...
those years.
I'm sure tapping and things like that have been happening for much longer.
Ever since we had phones.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Even before then, I'm sure there's always been spycraft and things like that.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
spying on
house phones and
spying on
cases.
American citizens under the guise, I totally understand. We didn't want terrorists. We didn't want another 9/11 to happen, especially since it just happened. I understand that out of emotion, we gave the government under extreme circumstances, we gave them extra power. But it's been 10 years and they've found nothing and have done nothing. And now they're just spying on us. So it seems like the same example that we have throughout history, when you give people more power, they will abuse it.
and they never want to lose it.
They never want to
They'll
let it
always
go.
gain power. They'll never lose any of it.
So
They don't want to let it go. They want to hold on to it, and they will use it against you.
number 4 that I have on this list here is actually abuse of the Patriot Act, where several provisions of the Patriot Act were set to expire at the end of 2005, and despite opposition from across the political spectrum and more than 400 community and state resolutions expressing concern about the Patriot Act, Congress reauthorized the law without reforming its most flawed provisions to bring these extraordinary powers back in line with the Constitution. Since then, the Justice Department's Inspector General found that the FBI has issued hundreds of thousands of national security letters, a majority against U.S. persons, and many without any connection to terrorism at all. In 2007, the ACLU won a landmark victory when a judge struck down the national security letter provision of the Patriot Act because part of the statute violated both the First Amendment and the separation of powers doctrine.
We need to get rid of it.
We touched on this last week, didn't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
But this is one of the things we're talking about. Something like the Patriot Act, it's over. Get rid of it.
Yeah, we
Like-
need a group of people to just go through all of the powers that government has and do a revision. We need to
Well,
see every single one that they have and vote on whether or not we need it.
here's the issue. Those people are around, but the government has bought them. So they're doing that for them and trying to find loopholes where they can get more power. We're at a very dangerous stage in our country's history, you know? It's very obvious that the vision that our forefathers had of a nation, just of individual persons having rights and liberties, is no longer the case. We have 60 and 70-year-old dinosaurs running the show
80 and 90.
that just don't want to give up their power. They have all these special interests and these corporate ties, and they are saying, screw the American people. They're going to do what they're told as long as we give these niceties in life. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want a new fridge? Well, guess what? This one can order your groceries for you. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool. It's nice. But you know what? I'd rather go back to a time where I had to sit down with my family at 8 o'clock at night and watch our favorite show once a week instead of being able to binge Netflix every single day.
I do miss that.
Board game nights.
Yeah.
Miss those nights, man.
Going back
you don't
to
appreciate
that.
those till they're gone.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things.
So
It
number
just was better.
Number 3 on this list also ties into that. It's the growing surveillance society. Basically, a quick gist of this one is like the FBI's investigative data warehouse, as an example, has grown to over 560 million records. So again, why do we need that many records spying on regular American citizens when the majority of those are not terrorists, nor will they ever do anything terroristic? Why do they need that much information on us and what we're doing?
Especially like traffic cams.
So many of them.
So many examples.
There's a lot of them around
people
here now.
Getting tickets of things they didn't even do. The traffic cam will catch them doing something, and then when they go to court, they're like, "You can clearly see that you didn't do that."
So here's one of the loopholes. I'm not sure if it's true in New York State, and this is just from a little bit of research I've done. I know in certain states, unless there is an actual officer, right? Unless there is an officer on the scene to issue a ticket, that ticket means nothing. So this is something that they do in New York City, right?
Oh, so they can just go through toll booths?
No, because there is a witness there to say that you did it.
What if they're automated?
Automated toll booth?
Yeah, I've seen it.
They'll send you a ticket and they'll just...
there's no one there.
It's kind of different because that's like a tax thing. They use it for maintenance purposes. But when it comes to... So we have traffic cameras in our town. And I know this is absolutely true in New York City. So say a traffic camera catches you speeding. Because you were not issued a ticket by a government official, a public servant at that time, it's very easy to fight. And most of the time, because this has happened to a coworker, right, they will issue a fine through a third-party company, somebody that's not actually associated with the state, but they have a separate contract with the state where the state will, so a company will issue hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of FOIL requests, which is Freedom of Information law, and they will gather all of this video surveillance and then find somebody who may have done something and then send out a fine or a ticket to issue you.
I never knew that. I feel like it should definitely be illegal to use third-party companies to issue tickets.
Just to catch somebody jaywalking.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Unreal.
But there's a lot of ones that do it fake because in America, you do have a freedom of information. So any kind of public records, if you absolutely wanted to, you could file a form to get the video surveillance like at the courthouse. Whether or not they're going to be like, yeah, we'll give it to you at some point.
Yeah,
sure.
A year.
But you can. So if you did that with public records for like the speeding cameras around town, it would be illegal for you to do this, but you could take that video surveillance, go through the footage, and then issue fake fines to people, and you will find a sucker. You'll find somebody that will send you the money. So that's one of those things. I remember seeing a video, I believe it's out of California. They have a separate department to help like keep the city clean. They're not government funded. They're a separate contracting. These people will walk around, say, I throw a cigarette butt on the ground. This person will come up to me and try to issue me a fine. They actually have no right to do it. But if you accept the fine and then pay it off, you're a sucker. It's a third-party company to try to keep...
I saw a video on YouTube about that.
Where another gentleman walks up and says, don't listen to them, don't do what they say. Come into this private business, they can't follow you.
Yep, that's the exact one.
They can't.
That's it.
There are loopholes that very, very smart people have found. And who do you think these people are? They help work for the government. So
it's similar to scam callers calling out 1,000 people.
It's the government scamming us.
They're going to get an old person that will just accept it because, they're 80. They don't have a long time. They got $100,000 in the bank. They have, you owe us $20,000 and they'll just pay it.
They will. That's a lot of things. All right, let's keep running through.
Oh, and I think it was me breathing into the mic. I just caught myself doing it. So.
Oh, I've been conscious of me doing it because I'm like all stuffed up and I'm just like.
I'm sitting back a little bit.
So another one that's on this list that I got right here is government secrecy. The Bush administration has been one of the most secretive and non-transparent in history. The Freedom of Information Act has been weakened, or it was weakened under the Bush administration. The administration had led a campaign of reclassification and increased secrecy by federal agents, including the expansion of a catch-all category of sensitive but unclassified, and has made sweeping claims of state secrets to stymie judicial review of many of its policies that infringe on civil liberties. It even refused to grant government investigators the security clearances they needed to investigate the illegal and unconstitutional NSA wiretapping program, which we just talked about. The administration had also expressed interest in prosecuting journalists under the Espionage Act of 1917, especially trying to quell the media's role in exposing questionable, illegal, and unconstitutional conduct, including the maintenance of secret CIA prisons abroad and the NSA wiretapping program.
I do know that Obama went overboard with targeting journalists. He targeted a lot of journalists during his administration. That is very interesting, though. With the reclassification, I instantly thought of Donald Trump with his files that they raided at Mar-a-Lago. I remember several times on the news, they didn't say, or they wouldn't say classified, they said sensitive documents. Is that like a linguistic loop that they're throwing?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like a linguistic loop.
And it looks like that started under the Bush administration. So another one on here is the Real ID Act. And I didn't really know much about this one until I started looking into this stuff. The 2005 Real ID Act, rammed through Congress by being attached to unrelated must-pass bill, lays the foundation for a national ID card and makes it more difficult for persecuted people to seek asylum. Under the law, states are required to standardize their driver's license according to a still undetermined standard and link to databases to be shared with every federal, state, and local government official in every other state. Conservative estimates place the cost of the program at $10 to $12 billion. Opposition to the bill and its implementation remains fierce and comes from groups such as the National Governors Association and the National Council of State Legislators. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about that one.
That was kind of difficult to...
Yeah, I tuned out.
So yeah, I was gonna ask either of you guys if you knew anything about that one.
I've never heard, but like I do know that state issued IDs, I mean, it's not actually your property. That's still technically state property. You're just holding on to it. That's why they're allowed to revoke it, right? Because it's their property that they're lending to you. As for real, I have no idea. This is news to me. New information.
Fair enough. So we'll move on from that one then.
If anybody knows, come down, let us know.
Yeah, please put it in the comments. Like I said, I just came across that one last night while I was looking through this list of 10 examples of government overreach. Most of the ones on here I knew of. That one, completely new to me. There's another new one I learned last night as well. We'll get into that in a little bit. But next one is the no-fly and selectee lists. The no-fly list was established to keep track of people the government prohibits from traveling because they have been labeled as security risks. Since 9/11, the number of similar watch lists has mushroomed to about 720,000 names, all with mysterious or ill-defined criteria for how names are placed on the lists, and with little resource for innocent travelers seeking to be taken off of them. These lists name an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 people. The lists are so erroneous, several members of Congress, including Senator Ted Kennedy, have been flagged.
Ted Kennedy? You know...
And they even put Trump on there recently, didn't they?
Really?
I believe so.
I didn't know that.
So.
What's actually super funny about that is with something you brought up earlier, the no-fly list and things like that. So there's a loophole with it because it's not actually hindering your freedom to travel, right? Because, hey, you can still walk. You can still drive your car. That was completely scrubbed out during, how do you say it, 91 DVOC.
Okay.
That was expanded to, hey, do you got your card with you? Your identification that says you got this little thing poked into your arm?
The jab.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, well, you can't fly. Even though literally all you have to do is wear a mask, come onto the plane, sit down, and then take your mask off, and literally breathe recycled air in front of everybody for hours. What?
It's just strange to me that members
don't think
in,
about it.
It hurts. Yeah, it hurts.
It's just strange to me that members in our own government are placed on no-fly lists or deemed security risks to fly.
Yeah, you would think they'd be fired if they're not allowed.
Yeah. If there was really a threat with them, they wouldn't be working within our government.
If you're a threat, well, hold on. The last couple of weeks, there's been a couple of people in government who have clearly shown that they're a threat to the government.
Oh, hit me with those. I haven't been keeping up. I've been busy with other stuff.
Not on this one.
All right,
but
we'll get into that another time.
There was currently a gentleman who pulled a fire alarm.
I do recall that one.
More information has come out about that. And it was like, oh, wow, you tried to stage an insurrection.
Yeah,
You tried to stage an insurrection.
Yeah, what were they voting? What were they voting on when he pulled that alarm?
that was the speaker.
Okay.
Was it?
Yeah, that was when they were doing the Speaker of the House.
I, for some reason, thought it was something about a budget.
I don't remember either. I just know that he interrupted official proceedings
And
in
then
an
his
illegal manner.
And then his excuse was very poor that he thought it was the button to open the automatic door. Like, come on.
When now video evidence that just surfaced proved he lied. We see him pulling down the signs
took the signs
on the
down.
door and then going over to it and crank
Yep.
and then running away.
Yep.
Bro,
I mean, how do you mix up a fire alarm?
Yeah, what
You
automatic
don't.
For an
door
automatic
do you
door
don't lever
button.
down?
You
This
don't.
isn't a secret
like-
base.
That's insane.
this man needs to go to jail now because he just staged an insurrection.
At the bare minimum, be fired from
Absolutely.
holding any government job.
Any government office for the rest of his life and any kind of pension he has is now forfeit. Sorry, bro.
Donate
You
to charity.
just denied the people their voice. See ya.
And we still won.
That's wild, man. Yeah. Move on to the next, I guess.
I was going to say, have you seen the interview with the new Speaker of the House?
I've only seen a few things. There's talks going both ways, whether he's like neocon or MAGA extremist.
I mean, he
it seems nobody is happy with him, so I'm happy with him.
Yeah,
if nobody likes him, that's a good thing.
I like him so far.
Yeah.
You may continue.
So, like, another one on here is just political spying. I feel like it ties into the wiretapping and everything like that after the Patriot Act. But this one says government agencies, including the FBI and the Department of Defense, have conducted their own spying on innocent and law-abiding Americans through the Freedom of Information Act. The ACLU learned the FBI had been consistently monitoring peaceful groups such as Quakers, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, Greenpeace, the Arab American Anti-Defamation Committee, and indeed the ACLU itself. In August 2007, the Pentagon announced that it would be shutting down its Talon database program, which illegally gathered information on anti-war activists across the country.
You know what's funny about that is I guarantee they're not spying on the North American men boy lovers group.
Oh, NAMBLA, huh?
Yeah.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I bet they're not spying on them because you're members of it.
Probably not.
That's
Allegedly.
I love that. Allegedly.
Was that Crowder that does that?
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah, it's so funny.
I miss Quarter Black Garrett, but I mean I like who is he?
They
Oh
got
no.
Tim the Toolman doing it?
Tim.
now? Yeah.
Tim the Toolman, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
He's good. He's got some good sound bites.
Yeah.
So I got another interesting list here of 9 unbelievable bans or examples of government overreach during the 91 DVOC incident or period. Number 1 in San Clemente, California, they filled a skate park with 37 tons of sand. Skateboarders stayed at home, but dirt bike riders and sunbathers showed up to make use of the new course and makeshift beach.
How did I not see that?
Oh, you never saw that one? Yeah, they literally filled in this whole concrete skate park with sand so that the skateboarders couldn't go and skateboard during that time.
People were being arrested on beaches. And I mean, we've seen plenty of examples where even here in New York City, you could go protest, right? Shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people. But if you...
That was proven to be safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was 100% safe. But if you wanted to go to church outside, social distancing, illegal. Mm-hmm.
There's an example of that on this list.
Yeah, perfectly safe to be shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people. And nothing happened. That wasn't a surge of cases. Oh, but Donald Trump having a rally?
So,
This surge of cases thanks to Donald Trump's rally in Iowa.
how come there wasn't a surge of cases here in Elmira during the Black Lives Matter march here in Elmira? Because I went and took photography of that march, and there was a lot of people there not wearing masks, not social distancing. Where was the surge?
You forget that particular virus has a certain warm spot in its heart for social outcry.
For activism, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Number 2 on this list was an Idaho woman.
We're getting tagged on this so hard.
Oh, I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if this video gets flagged in some way.
Yeah.
An Idaho woman was threatened with 6 months of jail time for selling items on her front yard. Police said her yard sale violated the ban on non-essential businesses.
Oof. That kind of reminds me. We've all seen these stories where kids are selling lemonade and the cops show up and. Oh,
That's wild.
man. That
You don't have a permit to sell this lemonade here, so I'm gonna be a dickhead and I'm gonna shut
I
you
mostly
down.
see Karens get mad,
Oh, good
and then
God.
they'll call the cops. And most of the time, the cops will be like, "Come on, man, it's a little kid."
Oh,
Like,
but we've seen it. We've seen it.
yes,
before.
I've seen the opposite as well.
There's
where-
I remember a group did a loophole. I'm trying to remember the loophole properly. So you can't sell the product.
But
What
you
you
can
ask for
give
is a
it away and
you-
take a donation.
Yep, give it away, take a donation for a penny. So it was like a weird loophole. But what was
See,
that?
that-
A woman?
She was just simply having basically like a little yard sale in her front yard, and she was threatened with 6 months of jail time because it violated the ban on non-essential businesses. Pretty wild. The next one. A former Colorado state trooper was handcuffed for playing catch with his daughter. After being detained for a few minutes, he was released without charge because he didn't break any laws. I clearly remember seeing that one floating around Facebook. The guy was just in the park playing catch with his daughter, and police basically came and tried to arrest him for not social distancing.
This was during 91.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all
No,
of
that
the-
was-
all of these examples were during the 91 DVOC
such-
situation.
Such a crazy couple of years. I actually, I didn't know about this until 91 came around. But in the early 20s, there was an outbreak, the flu pandemic.
The Spanish flu.
Every 100 years, because it was the same thing in the 1820s.
Seems like, what, really?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was in the 1820s, but I believe Jesse is correct that there was some kind of pandemic during
That's
them,
starting to sound
some kind
planned.
of outbreak.
Yeah, that's starting to sound planned.
Avian, or,
I can Google it real fast
yeah, I was
while you
gonna
guys
say,
continue.
shoot a Google.
I would definitely like to see if there's records of like local newspapers telling odd stories of this happening. But every 100 years,
Yeah, it was like for the last
How
300
do
or 400
we-
years.
how do we have this weird like rhythm? Every 100 years, this particular thing happens. Every 80 years, this other particular thing happens.
Like some people say, everything's been going on and they've had it planned for hundreds of years.
I mean, 100 years is perfect.
The yellow
'cause then a lot of
fever.
people just
Yellow
don't
fever,
know.
yeah.
The yellow fever pandemic of Savannah in 1820.
Wow.
Could be a coincidence.
When was when was the Black Plague? That was like 14 something.
15, between 14 and 1600s, yeah. There have been a couple outbreaks.
Oh, there was even a plague in 1720.
Yeah.
In 1720,
No way.
I think that was the first one.
Okay, so this site that I'm on right now is called India Today. So I'm gonna guess it's from India. It says from 1720 to 2020 how pandemics have threatened humanity every 100 years. In 1720, the plague. In 1820, it's saying cholera, which it's weird. The other one was saying yellow fever. In 1920, obviously, the Spanish flu.
Cholera.
Yeah, my bad. I pronounced that wrong. And then in 2020, of course, 91 DVOC.
Very interesting. Seems to be a rhythm or a pattern.
Back then, would they have had the capabilities of
which back
like
then?
like in 1720? Would they have had the capability of spreading something, like doing it on purpose?
Maybe. There's the argument that the smallpox was intentional, but like they didn't know how it worked. They just gave out these infected blankets and stuff.
Oh yeah, it could have been like if they were giving rations out or something.
Yeah.
They could have just been bad.
There was actually 2 pandemics going on across the globe in 1820. Here in America, we had the yellow fever epidemic of Savannah, which was down in Georgia, of course. And then from 1817 to 1824 was the cholera pandemic that looked to be going on, spreading through South Asia, Southeastern Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Africa, China, the Mediterranean area.
Interesting.
So that is interesting.
So every 100 years,
That's how it seems
they
to
kind of
be.
gobble up this large mass of power.
Maybe they just wanted to keep the tradition going.
Yeah. Or maybe the planet's just like, I'm tired of your shit. Very strange.
It could be the planet trying to kill everybody.
Maybe.
Ooh, a new conspiracy.
I mean, maybe it's because of the psychedelics I've done, but for the last decade, I've kind of always thought that, yeah, Earth is just a planet, but somehow this planet is conscious in a way, and that if it wanted to, like Jay-Z's song, it could just brush us off its shoulder like a little speck of dust.
I mean, it gives life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the soil, sure, maybe in the way we understand it, isn't alive, but it gives fruit to life. Trees grow in the soil. Somehow we're here, so it in some way gave birth to us. Like because of the planet's atmosphere and its oxygen ratio and carbon and the way we absorb nutrients, I mean, it keeps us alive.
Yeah, and then we become parasites.
Yeah. But maybe it also feeds off of our bodies, you know? When we eventually die,
that is true.
we
Yeah,
give our nutrients back to the planet. You know?
What if humans, and this is just a wild speculation, but what if humans are actually a pandemic to Earth? Or like a virus that just ravage and destroy everything?
Kind of seems like we do, to an extent.
Although it's hard for me to believe that because there's a lot of good human beings on the planet. And I feel like if, Earth was invaded by a virus that, there wouldn't be good human beings. We'd all be bad. Unless, in a way, how viruses evolve, maybe some of us have evolved. Or maybe humans were part of the vaccine given to Earth to save it from another sickness. And the Earth is getting a little sick, but it's going to help Earth's immune system grow.
We are getting
so
many tags on
I know,
this
I got a wild imagination sometimes.
Yeah, we should probably stay away from the 91 and other inoculation talk.
So, I mean, we're not really...
right,
I'm just talking imagination about humans.
They'll read past the pseudo.
Maybe. So number 4 on this list was what you were just talking about a minute ago. A Louisville, Kentucky mayor banned drive-through Easter services. However, a federal judge rebuked him, calling his directive on drive-through services a violation of religious freedoms.
Yep. And I believe it was in here in New York too, right? Like in New York City, they made it so that it was not illegal, but you couldn't go to church,
You go to church, straight to jail.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it was not recommended because it's a hotbed of cases. Man, honestly, we as humans, we're very stupid. Like, we allow this stuff based off of an emotional response. We allow a lot of dumb stuff to happen to us.
I think I brought that up in the last episode, how the news is very good at either getting people's emotions riled up or getting their thoughts to go crazy because of the emotional things they're reporting.
Yeah.
The news, the fourth branch of government, as Immortal Technique likes to call them. I don't know if you guys have ever heard his song, Fourth Branch. It's great.
I definitely agree with the sentiment.
I'll send you a link to the song later. It's a good song.
Yeah, I like them all.
Because, I mean, technically that's what propaganda is. You know, it's spreading a message to help whatever cause you want. So, I mean, if you own a news organization, if you have a specific leaning towards a political party or an ideology, then you're more likely to just try to promote that. That's quite literally propaganda.
Well, I mean, it makes me wonder, too. I mean, the Nazis had a whole propaganda division, and it makes me wonder if, people that were in their propaganda division were brought over here during Operation Paperclip and what they were used for within our own government.
I do believe with Paperclip, a lot of the paperwork around that, it just says scientists.
I know a lot of it was scientists, but I mean, in a way, propaganda could kind of be a mental science.
It is a science. So is psychology. It's technically a science, and I'm sure we got some psychologists.
And propaganda is kind of psychological. I mean, not kind of, it is. No, it is. Yeah, 100%.
It's a psychological science.
There's a strange scene in Captain America Winter Soldier that kind of talks about how... What was it in that? It was like S.H.I.E.L.D., I think was their name, or Hydra. How Hydra came over to the American government and infiltrated the government and grew as like a silent virus within our government. And to me, even though that's just a movie, there's somehow some truth in that. I feel like Hollywood drops a lot of truth bombs on us in movies because a lot of us will think, oh, this is just a movie. But I feel like they use that as a way to kind of expose what they're doing in a form of entertainment.
Look what we can do.
Look what we can do right in front of your face.
We'll throw it right in your face what's going on.
That kind of follows like the Satanist rule where you're absolved of not all wrongdoing, but you're absolved of guilt if you just tell people what you're doing.
Yeah, the karmic retribution thing.
Yeah, I'm going to punch you in the face, and then I punch you in the face. It was like, well, I told you I was going to do it.
A good example I heard once was like if you're selling poisoned apples and you're telling people they're poisoned and they buy them anyways, then you have no negative karmic retribution from it because you're advertising, hey, these apples are poisoned. But you'd get the negative karmic retribution if you were selling them poisoned apples without informing them first.
Yeah. It was like well, Your Honor, I told him it was going to happen.
So the next one.
Our world is fucked.
Oh, it very much can be. So number 5 was Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer deemed paint and gardening products non-essential and off-limits to customers. She has become a poster child for government overreach. It's interesting that she would...
She's awful.
It's interesting she would make gardening products non-essential because that renders people unable to grow their own safe, healthy food.
Yeah. That's very strange. I know there's been a lot of problems with Gretchen Whitmer. There was that...
I don't know much about her.
She's one of the worst governors in history.
Yeah, Michigan, it's awful.
How they keep electing her, I don't know.
Plenty of people that will just do it, and a lot of special interests. But she was the one that there was a plot to kidnap her, and it turns out that 14 of the 16 people were FBI agents.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Yeah, there was a plot to kidnap the Michigan governor, and 90% of the people who were involved were federal agents. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Steven Crowder covers it a lot.
Were they trying to like do like a false flag kidnapping on her, or?
So I think the way that they describe it is, so there of course are FBI agents who are, diving into the internet and keeping eye and track on certain groups and stuff. So what they would do is they would egg on the situation where somebody says, man, I just want to buy 100 guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition and maybe do a thing. An FBI agent will see that and then slowly work his way into like communicating with this person and then try to egg it on further.
Oh, okay. So it's not like she was trying to Jussie Smollett herself.
No.
Okay.
Nope. It's federal agents saw that people were probably saying some things, saw an opportunity, and then
Trying to hype
pushed
them up and egg it on.
further. Yeah. It's kind of... I know there was another incident just last year where it very quickly got like... The story got shut down, but there was a dozen or so people who were involved, and only one of them was not a federal agent. Wow. It was something with like a U-Haul, and they were all wearing white shirts with the like half mask things, and only one person was not a federal agent.
I'm kind of glad you brought that up because, I mean, that's in a way overreach of a government agency.
It's domestic terrorism is what it is.
That's another good
It's
point.
domestic terrorism. You as a federal agent are trying to provoke these circumstances, and then when a story is written about it, you can then turn around and say, see? Aha! Terrorism! Even though we're the ones that did it. Terrorism! Yeah, screw it, laughing. Yeah,
It's just loud when you laugh directly into the mic.
it can be, yeah.
So the next one came from the state of Vermont, where Vermont banned big box stores like Costco, Target, and Walmart from selling makeup, clothing, electronics, books, toys, jewelry, paint, and a host of other items deemed non-essential.
So the entire store.
Pretty much, it sounds like they were just like, hey, you guys can sell food and maybe like some trash bags and...
Well, hold on. I kind of like it because they targeted the big box stores.
Yeah, but books? What do they want us all to be dumb? I mean, they do want us all to be dumb.
Hold
but
up. They banned
answered
books.
Yes, from selling books. They didn't ban the stores. They allowed the stores to stay open, but they banned them from selling makeup, clothing, electronics, books, toys, jewelry, paint, and a host of other items deemed non-essential.
So please, anybody, if you want to look into this for us, try to find out if there's any kind of movement or lawsuits going on in Vermont against the government for banning books and such. Like, if you dig into this, please come on and let us know, because that's interesting. Banning books and clothing is essential. I mean,
I'm seeing if I can find the other items on the list that were deemed non-essential.
I understand paint.
But I mean, if
unless you're
you've
an
wanted,
artist.
Well,
but
I
if
don't understand it because if you're
Yeah.
allowed in the store, why can't you buy whatever you want?
yeah, like if you're home, locked in your home for a month, 2 months, 3
A lot of
months,
people did renovations.
that would be the perfect time to do renovations on your home. Because
Or
when you
just
go
to-
when you go back to work, you're not gonna have the time.
Just why ban anything in the first
Yeah,
place?
if you can go into the store, why stop anyone from buying anything? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, that's definitely government overreach.
For sure.
For sure.
Maybe to keep
Sounds
a
like
certain amount of
Vermont's
people
stupid.
out of the store, so you don't have a ton of people going in there for nonsense reasons.
Maybe.
That's the only
Didn't,
thing I can think of.
Didn't our local Walmart, they had like a specific time for elderly? Didn't we do that? We
I'm-
had like a 6 to 9
I'm
a.m.
I
I'm
know
almost okay with that. That
Yeah,
doesn't
it-
bother me so much
Yeah, they had like
Which-
specific times.
yeah,
for
because-
that
elderly
early
people.
anyway.
because elderly people were a little more likely to be affected more
Yeah.
negatively
For sure.
from,
Keep them
from the
safe.
situation.
The first
Keep 'em
hour
safe.
or two.
Yeah,
was,
keep them safe. Let them. For sure.
I like just calling it the situation.
The situation.
The situation.
Isn't that someone from Jersey Shore?
Yeah, I think it's Mike, the situation. Oh, man, I only know that because my girlfriend and I, there came a point when Ancient Aliens was on at the same exact time as Jersey Shore, and I promise you I won that battle. We were watching Ancient Aliens over Jersey Shore. I told her, look, you can go watch
She
Jersey.
likes Jersey Shore.
No, not Erica. This was way back when I was in the
okay. I
back
was
when I
about
was
to
in
say,
the
I was like, she
That's
does
really
not
weird.
seem like the kind of
No,
person that's
definitely-
into
definitely not.
drunken
This-
drama.
This was back when I was in the Marine Corps,
used to
and I assure you, I made sure to win that battle to watch Ancient Aliens because they were both on Thursday nights, and I had told her, I said, look, you can watch Jersey Shore tomorrow. on MTV.com because you could get on their website the next day and rewatch the episode. So it's like you can do that tomorrow while I'm at work. We're watching Ancient Aliens before I go to bed. I loved that show, man. I loved it. You know what else was an interesting show that's actually it's difficult to find online unless you pay for it? Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory. Do you remember that show?
I forgot about
Yeah.
I used to love that.
He's on Rogan a bunch, isn't he?
So I do question that
watched
show a
Rogan
little
a lot.
bit because it's the idea that they don't allow anything on mainstream networks that they don't want there for a purpose.
Yeah, and then they allowed it
And-
on mainstream network.
Those conspiracies I think were very good conspiracies, but it makes me wonder if they allowed a show like that on to, in a way, try to trick more people into believing conspiracies. And now look where we are today, where some of the conspiracy theories on the internet are just like mind-boggling. Some of the things I hear people say in certain groups I'm in, and it's just like, it's almost to the point it used to be entertaining, but now it's just like head-scratching, like, what?
You have to do a lot of mental gymnastics for some of these things.
Yes. Like flat earthers. Come to pay me.
I don't know. I kind of like the whole the flat Earth on the back of an elephant who's riding a space turtle. That's kind of cool. I'll get on board with that. I'll get on board.
I mean, I think it would be cool to be on a flying space turtle. Not gonna lie, yeah.
Pretty dope.
All right, so back to the list. The next one, Philadelphia cops dragged a man off a bus for not wearing the thing. The viral video prompted the transit system to change its policy and no longer require that passengers wear the facial diaper.
Viral video.
Oh God, they did that on purpose.
Probably.
Dun dun dun.
I hope they did that on purpose. I hope there was definitely a pun intended there.
So in Philadelphia, a gentleman was dragged off the bus,
Yes, for not wearing the diaper.
probably because of social outcry. They had to respond.
Probably. I feel like Philly seems like a city that leans a little more that way.
Yeah. I don't see them doing it just because of one case.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, if nobody's paying attention or doesn't care, the government's just going to be like, oh, cool, we're allowed to do this now.
I'll tell you what masks I really liked during the situation where people would send in a picture of their face. So the mask just looked like from their nose down, and like they'd go into places purposefully recording and people would see him and be like, hey, you need your mask on. It's like, I got my mask on.
Yeah, they'd pull it down.
Yeah, they'd pull it down and be like, look, I got a mask on.
I like it when they sent it to like a really bad third-party company and they would like overstretch the smile or something. And it would just make you seen those filters where it like cuts off your nose and pushes your smile up to your eyes, and it's just that's what it looked like.
I don't know if I saw
That's-
many of those.
Oh, it's good. But at the same time, the fact that this kind of thing got so normalized where people are like, I'm selling custom made ones, everybody. Why? Like, you're not supposed to wear them multiple times. You're supposed to have disposable ones, then throw it away.
I thought the machine washable ones were all right.
But they did nothing. That's the problem.
Did any of them really
They
do
helped
anything?
like 0.4%.
Was it?
Yeah, very much they helped. Yeah, they helped very much.
Uh,
You hear that, YouTube? They helped.
I don't know.
Yeah, so if you wear
'Cause- hold on.
if you wear 80 of them,
Yeah. So, from my understanding, right, if you're wearing underwear and denim pants and you fart, there is still like 100 parts per million fecal matter in the air where you just farted. So, if underwear and denim doesn't stop you from, then
Are you sure that much fecal matter gets released when you fart?
it's like 100 per million?
I got a pretty clean butthole, so I don't know if there's that much fecal matter coming
Oh,
out.
it doesn't matter. There's some in there.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
wear a
I'll look
diaper,
into that.
So.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That way we just smell it instead of just.
It all builds up. And
You're
then,
googling it. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I'm very interested.
This was years ago. I'm pretty sure it's like
Much
100 per 1 million.
Let's see. So the first one that popped up was actually how much gas comes out when you fart. Normal flatulence volume is 476 to 1,491 milliliters per 24 hours. I probably definitely exceed that because I get quite gassy depending on what I eat. But I want to know how much fecal matter is in my flatulence.
Fecal matter parts per million.
I'll Google that.
On our recommended Amazon, it's going to be like pants, deodorant, and diapers, and
I think the audience is going to like this one. They're going to be like, okay, this is silly. Hopefully they like it.
Random
I
facts of the TTLG podcast.
I would like the silliness of it.
Sometimes you just get bored at 2 o'clock in the morning from insomnia, and you're just like, you know what? I need to know some things about dolphins or farting or ice cream.
farting dolphins.
Farting dolphin? Oh my god. Can dolphins fart? Because they have a cloaca that's all 3 in 1. So can they fart? Or do they just use their blowhole?
I think we're going to have to get a dolphin.
I want to know why dogs scare themselves with their own farts. That's what I want to know. Like, my dog looks startled every time he farts, and it's like, bro, you did that. That
My
was
dog
you.
farted in its own face. And it was
Lord.
down there. She was down there licking, and she farted, and she stood up like this. And I'm like, did you just do what I think you did? And then she like lowered her head and went out.
So I'm not really finding an answer. Oh, wait.
I'll start Googling it while you continue the
Just
list.
be like, how much poop?
Yeah, I
I'm
can't.
probably-
I can't really seem to find an answer for how many parts per million fecal matter is in a flatulent.
Maybe Google like how much poop do we breathe in? Yeah, that statistic might come up.
So I'll go back to the list for a minute. Number 8. This one's kind of funny. A Lahala surfer was chased out of the water and fined for violating a beach closure.
By a shark?
No, by I think police. That'd be funny if a shark was like, "Get out of my water! I don't want the DVOC." Fined for violating a beach closure while scores of onlookers violated social distancing rules to watch the melee. So they're trying to chase this guy out of the water who's away from everybody, who's enjoying himself. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of people all gathering to take video and watch the melee go down. Quite ironic.
And that just goes to show how brainless police are. They will just do whatever they're told,
Just even
regardless on how much it makes sense.
even people in general, I feel like there was a lot of stuff that didn't make sense during the whole situation.
And that's why you can't. They don't want smart people in the police, isn't that? If you exceed a certain IQ, you can't be a police officer.
I actually didn't know that.
Yes, if you're
Let's find out.
From the last time I understood, yes, there is a
I
requirement.
think if you're above 110 or 115 or something like that, they don't allow you to be in. They say you're over.
Well, I type in IQ limit and
Same thing with too dumb. But
I type in IQ limit on Google, and the second thing that pops up under it is police officer. So let's see.
Huh.
There might not be anything.
Yes,
officially.
there is a maximum IQ that they can hire people with, and it is currently set at 212 by federal law.
No, they definitely don't hire anybody. That way.
So the whole thing right here says the average score of police officers was a 2122 or an IQ of 104. Isn't that lower than Forrest Gump?
Well, probably not. Well, the average IQ is 100. Currently, it's like 99.2 or something like that.
Is it?
But
Okay.
every couple years, they redo how the IQ test is done, and 100 is the average.
So let's peep that.
Because I don't remember who told me when they went to try and become a police officer, they said something about them telling them that they were too smart. They were overqualified with like an
I hear
IQ of 120 or something like that.
The median and mean of 100 seems to be, you're right, that the average. Most people have an average IQ between 85 and 115. So, yeah, 100 sits right in the middle there. While scores under 70 would be considered below average. So now I want to see if 212 is the highest. I feel like there's got to be a small percentage of people, anyways, that even fall in that group. So let's see if I can find that.
Anything over 200, and you like get automatically accepted to like Harvard and Yale, and
So there was a little graph picture here.
because you're talking the smartest people in the world are like 250, 270.
Yeah, most of them probably don't even want to be cops. So I guess I wouldn't say that they want police to be dumb.
But they don't want them to.
They don't want them to be geniuses.
Critical thinkers.
Yeah. They want order takers.
Yeah.
That's
They
your
want
job.
someone who
Your
can
job is to
follow
follow
orders,
orders. Yeah. So all I'm seeing is that it is a bacteria. So chances are something that I read in the past, like 10 years ago, probably was just, a bad article or something. But there is a bacteria that you do spread, and I can't see anything about parts per million or anything like that. There's... nope, I'm not saying that on a microphone. Gut bacteria, intestinal bacteria. I may be wrong.
So when
I'm fine with that.
When it comes to IQ, it looks as if only 1 in 10 million people have the capacity for a score at or above 200.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like
Unbelievably rare.
I feel like somebody with that high of an IQ wouldn't want to be a cop anyway.
No, they're all doctors and
rocket
scientists.
scientists.
They don't
better.
have time
Yeah.
to be making, the amount of money they do.
Plus, they probably just have more goals. They recognize how intelligent they
yeah.
are. So they're like, no, I'm going to do something with this.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we should all take IQ tests. I want to know how dumb I am.
I do wonder how many of those incredibly
Mine's
intelligent...
got to be like 390,
yeah.
500.
I've got to be a little bit above Forrest Gump's. Like a little bit, not too much.
I hope so too, but I'm kind of scared that if I'm
Did they give
way
the IQ
under
in the
than what I
movie?
was, then
Yeah, I think his was like slightly below 80, if I remember correctly. Now I'm going to Google that. I'm just having fun Googling shit today.
Oh, lost my train of thought.
Because once you hit 70, 75, you're the R word.
Yeah, Forrest Gump's was 75. All right, so we'll get back to the list now. Back on topic. That was a fun little side path we took.
On YouTube?
I don't know, so we'll
There are content creators who do, but I believe it's an instant demonetization.
Oh, I was going to say maybe if used in the right context.
Yeah.
maybe like use the word redundant.
Let's just stick with slow.
Yeah,
Slow.
I'm pretty slow, so.
Or just mentally deficient. I mean, it's the same thing without, I guess, hurting people's feelings because that matters. Yeah. Even though the scientific technical term is that.
Yep.
Even if it's in a medical book, we're not allowed to say it unless you're of a particular leaning and depending on the thing you're talking about.
So the last one here, number 9. Over 30 police officers shut down a 1-year-old's birthday party in Los Angeles because the 30-plus partygoers reportedly were not social distancing. That seems like an excessive amount of police for a 1-year-old's birthday party.
That sounds like they weren't social distancing.
Did you say 30? 30?
30.
How does your police force have that many cops available for a birthday party?
Yeah, I don't know. And how are they not distancing themselves if they're going to shut down a party? That's like one cop for almost every person there because it says there was 30-plus partygoers.
It's literally just order takers. That's literally it. You're just so dumb and you don't want to get in trouble that you're just like, I'll do whatever you say, boss, as long as I get my pension.
They were fine because they had 9 boosters.
Oh, yes. 9 boosters and the Glock on their hip. Yeah.
Glocks help.
Glocks do help. Glock out.
So, like, it does make sense during the situation for places to not allow giant gatherings. Like, that's completely understandable if you ask me. But, like...
if it's all consensual people, like, if you're going to be in a place and you're like, hey, these are the risks, that's fine. I don't see a problem with that.
That is the freedom we have. I mean, I get trying to
But do we though? Like, it's kind of evident.
the freedom we're supposed to have.
There you go.
Quote. That's a better way to say it. But like, yeah, some of the stuff on that list is just like wild. Like telling these stores they can't sell certain things. I guess one of the big ones that hits me is gardening products because, you know, if people grow their own food because it's cheaper than going to the grocery store to buy stuff that they can grow in their garden. Now, now you're forced to go get their stuff.
If you're gardening, that means you're outside getting sunlight,
getting
that you need.
healthy microbes from the dirt and stuff on you as well.
But I mean, that means you're not inside recycling air and getting deficiencies.
You know what's funny is during the situation, I got outside more than I was ever able to before or after the situation. Sadly, my place where I was working at the time only shut down for 3 weeks before they realized they were essential and opened back up, the dog daycare. So, I mean, I did miss the dogs.
Dog daycare was essential?
Yes, it was essential, strangely.
But everybody was home. They could take care of their dog.
There was some people like at Corning.
But that means you'd have to want to take care of your dog.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, pets are...
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people had these pets just as accessories, more than like an actual member of the family.
Which kind of makes you wonder what would happen if they have children.
Oh, a lot of them did have children.
Oh, just another accessory. Oh, our planet is fucked.
So the one thing I brought up to you guys earlier that I just came across last night was WOTUS, Waters of the United States. So this is just a quick gist of it. And this has to do with the Biden administration and their overreach this article that I pulled was from January 10th. But to give a quick breakdown for those who don't know, WOTUS dictates which waters are federally regulated under the Clean Water Act. During the Obama administration, a definition was released that empowered federal bureaucrats to place every single body of water, every ditch, puddle, and stream under federal regulation. That means permits could only be required for activities such as removing debris and vegetation from a ditch, applying pesticides, rotating types of crops, or building a fence or pond. Permitting can be a costly and time-consuming process that requires small businesses to hire attorneys and environmental consultants that simply cannot afford. To put an end to this overreach, the Trump administration finalized the Navigable Waters Protection Rule, which revised the definition of WOTUS and brought back a balance between federal and state jurisdiction under the Clean Water Act. Unfortunately, this rule was quickly pulled back by the Biden administration.
Yikes. I don't know about all that. They have a right to every water source.
I said every puddle?
Every puddle, ditch, stream.
So every water molecule that's on the ground.
That's almost how it sounds. Like if it's water on the ground, they have the right to it.
Yeah, if it rained too hard the night before, they have control over the water in the potholes in our streets.
They can just take your house.
Yeah.
Your yard's now a puddle.
I think that's a pretty wild example of government overreach.
Eventually, they're going to say, "Oh, there's too much water saturation in your yard."
So, like, what I'm trying to get from this is like, what I want to better understand is like, so even like I know a kid that lives up on a hill that's got a pond on his property. You're telling me even though that pond is on his property, it is still.
Well, hold on. It's not actually his property because if he refuses to pay taxes,
then
they'll just come take it from him.
The thugs will come take it.
Another example of
government overreach.
How can you buy a piece of land that, technically it's not even the government's property, but we buy it from the government to then be told that we don't actually own it?
It's like renting. You pay these taxes, we'll allow you to keep having it. But you stop paying these taxes, we're going to take it back and find somebody else to sell it to.
That doesn't sound like ownership.
Well, you just have to establish your own country on your plot of land. Like
There
Peter
there is
Griffin
something that you can
Petopia.
you can kind of do that, right?
Yeah, I had a
Or
buddy
there
in.
are-
No, I had
I've
a buddy
never
in.
actually looked into that. I'm like,
I know there's something
Could
about
Petopia exist?
sovereign citizenship and the incident in Waco. That was something that they were actually trying to do, if I'm correct.
Well, I got a buddy in Minnesota that when Erica and I were traveling, when we went and met up with him and worked a carnival with him for a couple weeks to make some extra money, he was informing us like he knows the whole process to how to actually like make a small micronation within the country,
Like a commune.
kind of like a commune, but it I guess could be considered like its own nation, like have its own laws, like a micronation. Maybe I'll have to get in touch with him here and find out this process and come back to the
That sounds
podcast
super
and talk
risky,
about it.
though, because if you're your own nation,
they could just
They could
declare
come
war on
invade.
you and
they could declare
Yeah.
war if you cross the border illegally, and then
Yep.
they'll just seize your property again.
Yeah, that's some questions I'd have for him, but maybe I'll get in contact with him and talk with him about that. It's too bad we can't do a live stream with him yet, or like get him on a Skype call to talk about it, because it's definitely something he's looked into a bunch and I have not. So
How many more of those you got?
I just there's a lot more on this WOTUS thing, but I won't go into it.
It's something
Too
we
much,
have to
like-
look and try to find somebody with expertise.
it just
on
sounds
So
to
this
me
is-
like we need to. What's the state that wants to do the Free State Project? New Hampshire, was it?
What is the Free State Project?
They want to secede from the United States.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Well, I know Texas has said that before, and there are talks right now of there's a state with 11 counties who have decided that they want to secede and join Idaho. There's been a lot of talks about different things.
So that would just be remapping the state line.
They would, because there's like
Has that ever happened after like the 18, like with
I don't know.
Virginia and
I'm looking it up.
There
right
seems to be a lot of people moving to Texas. Texas seems to be a nice state to move to for some
like
reason.
right now? That's weird with the whole border situation.
I know
'Cause
Joe
crime
Rogan.
has
I know Joe Rogan moved to Texas.
skyrocketed.
I know someone personally that just moved from Oregon to Texas.
'Cause
There's been a lot of people
for business
it's
reasons,
12
it's a lot better.
Okay.
Because I think Elon Musk went to Texas as well.
Yeah, a lot of people that have moved from LA to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have flooded into Florida as well.
Florida, I think, is one of the, if not the
They've had
most
the
moved into
fastest
state.
growth.
Yeah,
Grossing state.
hundreds of thousands
Where
in like a
where New
month or
York,
two.
New York and California right now are the two most moved out of states.
But it has also driven up prices so much that a lot of like native Floridians are having to flee and stuff because they just can't afford it anymore. There were also insurance companies that have outright like left the state of Florida because if there's a natural disaster, they will not have the means to like give people the money. So Eastern Oregon, there are 12 counties now. Last I knew it was 11. 12 counties have put forward the paperwork and the correct documentation to secede from Oregon because, just like New York, like 2 or 3 cities in the entire state control legislation for the whole.
And I'm going to
for the
take a
whole
stab
state.
here and just take a guess that Eastern Oregon is a lot more red than Western Oregon. And I only say that because I've traveled through the western parts of
We should.
Oregon.
I definitely got to see the map of it, but last I saw, these 11 counties
Yeah, you
are
just-
like 90% of the state.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
just Google.
Yeah, Oregon will basically not even exist anymore. And they are
the vote map.
putting in the paperwork to secede from Oregon to join Idaho.
Yeesh.
They are waiting for Idaho's response to basically allow them to join, and then it moves to Oregon.
It's worse than New York. Yeah. Like,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then
there's hardly any blue in Oregon, but it's all
Yeah,
the big cities. It's
three
probably
cities.
it's probably Eugene,
Yeah, it's 3
probably
cities.
Corvallis, where Oregon State University is, and then the Portland area.
Which kind of makes you wonder why is only these incredibly dense populations controlling so much? Oh, because you literally have an incredibly dense population that don't earn enough money to leave, so they're stuck there, and they're taught the same garbage generation after generation. Huh. I wonder why people would want to do that. I wonder why you would want to trap people in a city and don't give them enough money to leave, teach them garbage, and then teach their kids garbage, and then teach their kids garbage. I wonder why you would want to do that. I wonder why.
What would you guys think about splitting each state into two separate states?
I think it'd be
one is Democrat-led, one is Republican-led.
I think in New York it'd be beneficial if the rest of the state was a separate state from New York City.
New York City should be its own state.
Because I think a lot of our taxes from up here go down to New York City.
Yeah.
So
and they control legislation for the entire state, which is ridiculous.
Our map looks the same. New York City is blue, and almost the rest of the state
of New York is red. Plus, New York City's population is like double, if not triple, the rest of the state combined.
Yeah, it's what?
New York City needs to be its own state.
11 million?
Something crazy.
It's a third most populated.
New York City needs to be its own state. They can keep New York and then let us rename ourselves.
Yeah, or something like Washington, D.C. They're their own district.
You are your own state. Goodbye. You're your own state. There's a lot of places that should do this, and I don't think cities were ever meant to be what they've become, but I can see why civilizations have fallen because of cities. Obviously, once you start cramming people together, you get this awful groupthink thing going on.
And they forget how to actually live.
So back to what you just said about splitting states. I mean, if you literally split California from West California to East California, the whole eastern side of California minus the very, very southeast would be a red state, where the whole west side is blue. Now let me go look at another state.
But it would still depend on population, because if you're a certain demographic, if you just go straight north and south, but you have a city,
some pockets,
that is dense,
it's the
then
same.
It's still gonna.
It's the same thing in Michigan. There's a small little thin section here in Michigan that's blue and the rest of the state is red.
Yeah.
And I know it's like that in New York. I'll pull up New York's now. Man, I might have to take some screenshots of these and just throw them into the video, or just have people just go Google different states' political maps and see where they're at. And this is coming from somebody that doesn't vote blue or red. I usually, because New York's always a deep blue state, my strategy has been, well, let me vote for a third-party candidate, and maybe, just maybe, they'll get 5% of the popular vote and be able to be on the debate stage. Yeah. And, I mean, that strategy has obviously never worked out for me, but I
eventually it will. A lot of people are kind of waking up and seeing the problem with the two-party state, and it's not working in our favor at all.
I mean, a lot of my friends will probably be shocked to hear me say this if they watch this episode, but if it comes down to Trump and Biden again, I'm 100% voting for Trump. I'm not doing my third-party thing. I'm 100% voting for Trump. I've seen this country under Trump, and I've seen this country under Biden, and there's no way I can give Biden any support, and I don't care what people say about Trump. The news was more divisive than he was, and I think he would do a much better job running this country again for 4 years.
I actually saw something really, really good last night, is that people hated Trump so much that they killed any message he delivered. You hated the messenger so much that you killed the message. No matter what good he could have possibly have said on a stage, you automatically said, no, this is awful because it's coming from this man. That's a terrible way to look at anything. You're just going to stop something that could benefit you because you hate the person. You know how petty that is? No, I don't want $5 because Ricky's a son of a bitch. Bro, it's free $5. Take the $5.
It's kind of the same thing when the jab was coming out, and it was going to be under Donald Trump. Nobody on the left wanted it.
How quickly?
But as soon as it was released under Biden,
we need to throw a compilation.
That's a good example.
We need to throw a compilation in this video where it shows. I'm sure we can find one easily on YouTube where it has a date up in the corner, and it shows people saying, this is the worst idea, we're never going to get this, and then 2 months later, complete flop.
Yep.
Oh, man, the fact that people still don't, I think it's still the people that just don't care and don't pay attention.
So far as I'm sitting here Googling political maps, Maryland is closest to like actually like having more blue, because everything I'm Googling, the whole state as a whole tends to be more red, which I get, you know, the blue parts are the more densely populated, but like you just mentioned, like why should we let these densely populated areas dictate the whole state?
But at the same time, why is it only these densely populated areas? Like, this needs to be, people need to dive into this. So why is it when people are spread out and given the opportunity to think for themselves, people tend to be more conservative and liberty leaning, but when you bunch people up into a groupthink process, it becomes blue. Like, doesn't that seem weird to anybody? It kind of seems like a prison system.
Thought of that.
Groups and communities can tend to be dangerous because if you don't think like them, you get shunned away from them.
Exactly.
Oh, it could
exactly.
be a lot of conformists.
Yep.
Conformity.
Yep.
You don't want to be the odd one out. When you're surrounded by 100 people in a group, you don't want to be the one that makes an embarrassment of yourself, and then there's 100 people staring at you.
Yep.
And I feel it's kind of like a prison system, is you're just doing the same thing as everybody else because everybody else around you is doing it, and you want to conform to that.
You want to fit in. You want friends.
Cities, these large cities are absolute toxic filth. This is what is going to destroy this country.
Yeah, look at the SpongeBob episode where Squidward joins the community of
all Squidwards, and then he ends,
but
he ends up hating it, and then
he hates
disrupts it.
Yep. Yeah.
But all the other squids, they're all the same, and they're like, "Why are you so weird?" And he's like, "I don't know, I just am." But it's so crazy that these immensely dense populated areas just kind of run the show, when we've all seen the videos, like James Klug and people like that going to cities, when they go to talk to these people, they have no idea what they're talking about.
Florida
they don't
only
know
has
anything.
like 4
they'll
blue counties.
Just scream.
They just, they scream. One of the more recent ones where James Klug, I think, was in like Indianapolis or something, and he's just asking people about racism.
And it's really like
5
his channel.
people in a row that are just like, "Yes, I'm a racist." It's like, huh?
Really?
Oh yeah, I absolutely hate white people. Fuck them. Black people are all the way. I'm a racist. It's like, whoa.
You will, unless you go to the deep south, you ain't ever gonna hear that from.
Yeah.
Men are the only sex or gender that you can hate on. White people are the only race you can hate on, and Christians are the only religion that can be openly mocked and hated on. Isn't that a little strange?
Well, now it doesn't matter if you hate Jews.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently it doesn't matter now if you hate Jews.
Oh, with the whole...
Because they're a colonized state. So, you know. Plus, a lot of people, I have seen a lot of arguments, and people are coming forward with, you're always going to see it. I have these facts, you have these facts, but the history of Israel and Palestine, how Israel... of course, has never initiated the fight, and they've, pushed back 8 times. But every time it comes to some kind of peaceful talk, they always give Palestine some completely unagreeable terms of the agreement, and that's why just politics on top of politics on top of politics. All I care about is it seems like whichever side is purposefully running into homes and killing children is the wrong side. If that's you, you're wrong. You want to kill kids just because you believe something, you're wrong. You just are. You're wrong. I don't care.
So now I'm at Texas's political map, and it's strange. The only...
Houston.
No, the only blue counties are mainly like there's like one or two a little north, but all the rest of them are literally right next to the border.
The capital of Texas is
No, they all
Or
are
Austin.
right on. They're
Isn't
all,
it Austin? They say Austin is
the bluest city. Yeah, they allow.
but
some
all these
weird
other
stuff
blue,
there.
all
'Cause
these
the
other blue
mayor is a
counties.
Democrat, and I think he's like the only.
Isn't
Democrat
that
in
Beto O'Rourke? That's like his area.
Oh, I don't know.
All these other
weird
blue
one.
counties are literally right on the border of Mexico.
Yeah, that's very strange.
I
Yeah.
don't keep up with a lot of the smaller politics.
Again, speaking, you mentioned something about like for the jab there that when Trump was talking about it, nobody wanted it, and they won't look at they won't look at
ways.
they won't look at anything he says because it's him, or anything he says is bad because it's him.
Yeah, because if he's saying it, it has to.
Everyone was so pissed off about him wanting to build the wall, but now the Biden administration is going to start construction on building a bigger section of the border wall because of the crisis we're having here.
I bet they're actually not. And
I think they're
honestly,
just
but how
saying
come-
it and then drag it out.
But
until
still,
he's
though,
not in there
how
any
come people
longer.
aren't losing their minds on his administration like they were on Trump?
He's not doing it for a racist reason.
Is it because now there's actual proof that look at the issue it's causing, allowing this many people in?
So here's one of my theories about it. You can say whatever you want about Trump and how awful he was, and he did some things and said some things, whatever. I believe economically, Trump was the best administration. I had more money in my pocket than ever before, which means I had free time to discuss and talk about things, right? I had free time to do what I wanted with my money. Now, people are so tied, they don't have time to care. Like, I'm sorry, I don't got time. I can't pay my bills this month because I have to pay an extra $75 a week just to fill up my gas tank, and I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. They don't have time to pay attention.
Yeah, under when Trump was in office, the economy was so good that when I was doing my business online, I was making 6, 7, 8 times the amount of money than I was when I was working at Domino's.
So people had the free time to care.
I can't
and
exactly.
Now they don't.
Can't exactly say the same. It was about an even split with the amount of money I had under Obama and the amount of money I had under Trump's first 2 years. But that's also because I used to sell the weed.
Well, and minimum wage back then was $9.25.
Well, for me, it was just what I was doing on the side.
Oh,
That's
that's
why I
true.
had so much money. But, I do miss paying. I miss seeing gas under $3. I'm not going to lie. Especially having a job where I drive around now. Like,
$1.75.
Right now we should have that wonderful pipeline running through our country delivering over 900,000 gallons of gasoline a day.
we could probably have a lot more nice things if we didn't
the government cared.
If we didn't elect the wrong candidate.
Yeah. If people didn't think mean tweets bad.
If people actually voted for a good candidate rather than voting against one that they didn't like because the news told them not to
Or if
like
the
him.
candidate actually did what they said they were going to do instead of
False promises.
Yeah.
I think that it would be so hard to do, but I think that should be illegal. I think a president making promises
And then
then
doing a
very
180.
obviously
We
not
should
doing any of
we
it.
should try to dig through history and find examples of presidents who didn't follow through with campaign
I
promises.
was just thinking the same
yeah,
thing.
that'd be a fun
It's-
episode.
yeah, that
It's
would be
First
cool.
Amendment. It's protected speech. You are allowed to lie. So if we were to make some kind of law or standard that says
Well,
that
not all the time. You can't lie.
for certain things,
yeah.
for sure, but
Well,
I
that's
can
exactly-
tell you, Jesse, right now that I'm going to give you $1 million if you stick something with me. If you
Yeah,
give
but
me,
if you specifically made it for presidential candidates and if they didn't even try to do it whatsoever, I can understand if they put some effort forth and they couldn't get it done.
But
That's
then
one thing.
that's exactly
But if
what
they
they'll do.
if they did the exact opposite, it's fine if they didn't do the thing, but if they did the exact opposite, that
But then it comes down to a lot of legal theory because I could definitely see it being used with, oh, well, Donald Trump said he was going to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it. Well, he only completed this much of the wall and Mexico didn't pay for any of it, so he lied. Then it would come down to legal theory and fighting it in court, and then we would have to rely on a judge, which we can kind of see that's not going very well.
How much did Congress fight him on getting that wall up, though?
Quite a bit.
See, I didn't know that, and that's why I asked that question. I mean, that just popped in my head like, well, Congress probably had something to do with him not being able to fully follow through on that plan, and it seems like
Didn't some Texans
right.
start adding to the wall?
In certain spots, because
just random
things
people
were happening.
Yeah.
Just random people from Texas?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
like if they had property on the border, I think they were starting to put their own wall
I can
up.
wow,
I
I
can
didn't know
definitely
that.
see now though why there was such a fight to not build the wall. Then we wouldn't have 7 million people flood our country.
Well, I mean,
per minute.
look what's going on in New York
per
City.
minute. No, it's up to 7 million now though, isn't it?
Look what's going on with New York City,
7
though.
million
It's a lot.
documented, but still unaccounted for illegal aliens.
New York City said, "Yeah, sure, come here. We'll
And
take you
after
in
too
with
many
open
got in-
arms."
And then after a month, it was like,
Yeah, there's too many.
don't send them. We can't handle this.
And now
Bro,
they're like, "Oh shit, what do we do?"
Bro.
Who can?
That's why we're renovating our prison in Southport, Here in Elmira, New York, we're renovating a prison that got closed down. We're renovating it so we can accommodate illegal aliens.
And that was weird. Just after they did a bunch of upgrades to it, just
Yeah.
6 years ago.
Isn't
5,
that
7
weird?
years ago?
We're going to put these people in a prison. I wonder why. I wonder why we're going to
It
put
makes
a
me
bunch
wonder
of
how many
undocumented people
It
in
makes
a
me wonder
prison.
if New York City has already shipped any of them here because
Yes.
my manager where I work, it was like a month or two ago, said that in like a week's time, 2 people came in asking if they needed a green card to get a
He
job.
told me about that.
And it's like, yeah, you do. You do need a green card to work here. This isn't an under the table contracting job that you can just walk up to and start getting paid.
I mean, if
Go ahead.
some owners would probably, if it was previous owners, they'd be like, yeah, $6 an hour.
There was
We can fold our boxes.
So this might have just been something that I noticed because, I was looking for it. But you remember when Florida did the Martha's Vineyard thing?
Mm-hmm.
A week after, right, when Martha's Vineyard started shipping them, we started getting a lot of people that had no idea what English was. But they
Not
had...
Not
they
that I
had-
mind, because I mean we've had several come in that don't speak much English, and I just like that. Honestly, they're always smiling. They at least look happy.
Yeah,
I hate
I
the
don't mind
grumpy
it
customers
either.
that come in, but I get what you're saying, and
But
I've
it is
noticed
definitely-
an influx for
Yeah,
sure.
it is a thing where it's concerning.
Yeah, it makes me
because-
wish I took Spanish in high school. It would have been much more useful than German.
Well,
Should've
I
paid
mean, I
attention.
took 4 years of Spanish that I don't remember any of it.
My concern about it is that they're undocumented, they're unaccounted for, and we're giving them our tax money. We're giving our tax money to Ukraine. We're giving our tax money now to Giza. Right? Gaza. Wow, my brain today.
Giza's from Final Fantasy.
And where the pyramid
Gaza.
and where the pyramid
And
is,
we're
Great Pyramid of
giving
Giza.
Oh, yeah.
Our
that's
tax money to illegal immigrants who are crossing our border. When we have military personnel and veterans who are starving on the streets, we have schools that are dilapidated, we have factories that have been shut down for decades. We have so many things in our country that we could be doing for ourselves, but they refuse to help us. What are we just slaves? Like, is that really what this is?
Kind of sounds
Like,
like
as a
little bit.
United States citizen, are we just slaves?
In a sense, yeah, slaves to our government and whatever they want for us.
But isn't slavery bad? Like isn't slavery bad, guys?
Yeah, but in a way, this is like voluntary slavery. Like
I didn't vote for this.
We just keep allowing it, and some of us have voted for it.
I mean, I wish there was somewhere we could just go, but you're not allowed to do that.
Let's buy our own island.
I mean, you could, but you have to earn the money to do it,
I mean, you can kind of go off grid, but even then, if they know you're there,
They know you're there. And there's satellites to know where you're at.
And this
Gotta
is why
go underground.
Definitely have to jump for a minute. I have to go to the bathroom. so
this is why the Second Amendment is also a good thing to have.
Oh, you gotta wait for 2 talks.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a good thing to have because without it, I feel like the government would overreach quite a bit more.
I thought we were doing some of 2A today.
Oh, we can do a tiny little. We'll wait for you to get back. We'll do like a tiny little bit of 2A and why it's a good thing to have to keep the government overreach somewhat in check.
He meant wait for him to get back. I thought he meant for another episode.
We'll definitely do a whole nother episode on gun violence in America and 2A. I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, speaking of which, it's so hard to find the crime rates. I found they were wording it weird. It was gun deaths and I couldn't find violent gun crime. It was just gun deaths and...
So they're only recording like people that died from the violent gun crimes and not all the violent gun crimes. Yeah, they use they manipulate language a lot for different things, for different statistics and shit like that.
Yeah, because I was trying to compare all the states that have lax gun laws with how much violent gun crime they have. And I could only find death by gun, which incorporates police officers, suicide, accidental misfirings. It doesn't cover actual somebody shooting somebody for as a crime.
I could be wrong in saying such, but I'm pretty sure the places with the worst gun violence tend to be the cities with the strictest gun control laws.
Yes, Chicago, you're not allowed.
Baltimore,
citizens aren't allowed
Detroit,
to have guns at all.
Mm-hmm.
Basically all of Michigan.
Oh, all of Michigan has strict laws? It's not just Detroit?
Detroit is the worst, but I think all of Michigan, you're really not allowed to have a gun hardly at all.
New York City might actually be an exception to that rule, isn't it? I feel like I don't hear a ton about gun violence in New York City. Maybe that's something I'm going to have to look into.
Well, New York in general is very hard to get a gun.
That's what I mean. Like they might actually be New York City especially might be an exception to that rule that the places with the strictest gun control laws have the most gun violence. So, is that still going? Sweet. Yours is still going too.
We're all done talking about 2A.
Yeah, we finished it. I mean, we'll definitely cover that in a whole nother episode, but for sure, like having that Second Amendment, I feel like does help a little bit in keeping the government to not overreach too much.
I would say just look at examples in history of every time a government has taken the means for the people to defend themselves. I mean, the most recent one, of course, we have is Australia. They're not so bad right now, right? They did a massive buyback program in the
90s?
2012.
Okay.
And of course, they have certain rights where, if you have, invasive species on your property, you can have a shotgun and things like that. But at the same time, during the situation, Australia constructed concentration camps and put people in them.
Yeah, that's a little terrifying.
Go ahead, look it up. Australian concentration camps in 2019, 2020.
You'll probably get hit with a fact check saying they weren't concentration camps. They were
You took a group of people
and you concentrated them in one location.
You took a group of people against their will and concentrated them into a camp.
But like Jesse was saying last episode with the fact checks, how you get one minor detail wrong and they're going to hit you with that.
Go ahead.
So they'll probably say, they were safety camps or something like that.
What happened when I think 2 teenagers escaped the camp and they hunted them down and dragged them back?
Jesus.
I don't know if they dragged them back, but they put out a news article about it, and even the Australian people had no idea that this was a thing. Mm-hmm. Even the local population had no idea that this was going on. And yes, teenagers escaped, and then they were on a manhunt for them. It's wild.
Anybody that flew into the country, you had to do a mandatory. It was like you either went there or you had to go to a hotel room for 2 weeks.
And just other people that were suspected of being infected were taken against their will to this camp. Fantastic stuff.
That's why a lot of people thought, for some reason, with Walmarts that were abandoned, the gardening section with all the fencing, they were putting barbed wire. They were reinforcing them like 2 years ago or so.
That's probably because they didn't want people like breaking into it or something, or maybe. But I don't know.
I don't know what.
There's I haven't dug into it, but there's a couple of places here in America where we have made giant camps. We'll have to find it.
FEMA camps. They actually turned. Remember, it was during Obama's presidency. People were wondering what they were doing with some of these big WalMarts that had like closed down and emptied out, and it looks like some of that was used for putting some of these people coming across the border into. And it makes me wonder if, still some in the future, if there's ever another situation where they'll use those to quarantine people. But yeah, I do have an article here from New York Times talking about Australia's quarantine camps. So yeah, it's
real. It happened.
Very much so. I mean, at least they're not in like prison cells. They're like these little.
It doesn't matter how.
They're like these little annex buildings, but like still like.
It's the fact that these people were taken against their will,
having to get swabbed to make sure they were clear of COVID every day.
But they were taken to these camps against their will.
Mm-hmm.
They had no way to say no. And people who were speaking up against the incredible overreach that Australia's government was doing against its people, they were shut down immediately by people with guns. So when you do not have a gun to defend yourself or any means to defend yourself, but the people who you are opposing do, who wins? Who do you think wins?
Here's an article about, it must be those kids that escaped. It's from BBC. It says Howard Springs. Yeah. Australia police arrest quarantine escapees.
Yeah.
Escapees.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because people who are willing participants are considered escapees.
Yeah, so they're not concentration camps. They're quarantine facilities.
Yeah, and the thing with Australia, they're an island. And it's mostly
it's one giant camp. It's one giant camp.
I wanted to move there when I was younger.
So did I.
I'm like, Australia is so
cool.
beautiful.
I'd definitely like to visit sometime.
Their government's
to
good.
go to Sydney. Cool. They were good.
Man, I was dumb when I was in high school. That's what it does to you.
As for 2A, I understand that some people don't like guns because of the reason that they're created, their main purpose. Totally get it. But you can do that with anything. I would suggest looking up an awful story. In 2016, there's a city called Nice, France, where a disgruntled person took a U-Haul truck, basically, and drove it through a festival, injuring over 400 people and killing like 90. And they did that with a truck. What could have stopped that person? Person with a gun.
If everybody
Quite
in the crowd
literally.
Was carrying,
but
everybody lights the truck up.
It's one of those things where I understand you don't fully get what a gun's purpose is.
If someone wants to hurt people, they're going to do it regardless. Timothy McVeigh, for example, didn't everything he used to create those explosives were bought at like a regular Home Depot or something, right? Yeah. So it's like if you want to hurt people, you're gonna find a way.
And it's very evident that there are disturbed people on this planet that will find a way to do it. Mm-hmm. Yes, a gun is an easy way to do it, but so is an automobile.
It's even worse.
You drive on the road every single day in a 2-ton piece of metal that can go 120 miles an hour. You're not scared of that. Though all it takes is one person going like this on the side of the road and you're gone. You're gone.
Rolling death boxes.
That's why if I'm ever walking on the sidewalk, I kind of keep an eye on every single car.
Everything.
I'm always ready to jump out of the way.
I understand that people have a problem with others owning guns. Sure. The issue is with gun laws is the only people you're affecting are law-abiding citizens. Who do you think's going to abide by that law?
So if we
people
had...
that are going to abide by it. The ones that illegal own the guns that are in gangs, they don't care about your laws. They don't care. They like it. The people in gangs who are there to intimidate, scare, steal, they like it when you take guns away from people, because then they're the only ones with the guns.
The people that want to restrict our rights to own guns, the people protecting them always seem to have guns on them.
Always have guns.
And it makes you wonder how much worse would government overreach get if we didn't have 1.5 guns for every citizen in this country. Yeah. How bad would it get here? I feel like it would get very bad. It's also, I mean, we won't get too much into 2A, but it's helpful to know that other countries have not invaded us because they know how many weapons are in this country.
Yeah, a lot of countries have stated that
there's a blade
the main
of grass.
reason is the American citizens as a whole is more powerful than almost any other army in the world.
Than almost
Like the
every
entire
other
country.
every other nation. Not only just the geography of America itself, it's very hard to invade, right? You would either have to set up some kind of military forward base either in Mexico, which is inhospitable, or Canada, which is also fairly inhospitable like 8 months out of the year. So we're a very difficult position. And the fact that we do have a gun culture and other countries have been known to say that there's a gun behind every blade of grass, yeah, it's difficult. But what's to stop an already invasive force within our own country that takes our weapons away from then taking full control? Doesn't it seem like, well, we can't invade them from the sea, we can't invade them from land, and all of the people own guns. So how do we stop America?
Well, they might be able to in California, because California is one of the most strict states for gun laws.
Yeah, but
You
we
can't
see
even-
what happens in,
you
in
can't
California.
even own a gun there, pretty much.
For the most part, yeah. They have a lot of restrictions. But you can't invade from the ocean, you can't invade from land, and almost all, like, there's so many guns in this country, you would be fighting a war for decades. So if an invading force wanted to take over America, it has to be from the inside.
Or 15, 20 powerful countries.
Wasn't
would
it
have to
Lincoln?
Convene and just bomb Russia.
Wasn't it Lincoln that said if America falters or falls, it would be from the inside and not an outside force?
I believe there's been many people who've stated that. It's just
They're not wrong.
It's kind of obvious. And I get it. I really do why people don't like guns, but you have a misunderstanding as to why we have these things. Like, yes, America has a gun culture, and sometimes there's nutty people that do really dumb things with weapons, like getting drunk and shooting off into the air. That's incredibly irresponsible. That is a small minority.
Yeah, because if you look at defensive gun use, which is
Up
anywhere from like 1 to 8 million people stopped per year with a defensive use of a firearm.
I think the consented number now is roughly about 50,000 defensive uses of firearms.
No, it's way above that. The minimum is like 750,000.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. So the general consensus, I remember even Steven Crowder has brought this up before, like the lower end is 50,000 up to like 1 million. It's very hard because it depends on how the precincts and the politicians like to record such defensive use.
That's true.
It does matter.
But even with that number, you compare it to
In the most conservative estimate, let's say the 50,000, that is still triple the amount of offensive uses of firearms in this country. So yes, quite statistically, by the FBI's own database, more people are protected by defensive use of firearms in this country
more people are
than they
safe.
are hurt by it.
powers.
That alone tells you that there are a lot of good people that own guns. It's just a fact.
The powers that be don't want you to know that, though.
Of course they don't. They never would.
and the amount of gunmen that are stopped by random civilians with a gun, where they only
The mall in Illinois, that incident.
That's the thing,
Yep.
is we don't hear about those ones because they don't go to the right places.
Well, luckily now with the internet, we do hear about stuff like that because things
Very
get around
rarely,
so
though.
fast.
There are a lot of them where it catches, like, it gets a foothold really quick, but then the gunman is stopped like an hour or so later, and then we find out about it. But whenever we have one of these major tragedies, like the one that just happened in Maine, the gunman ended up killing 18 people.
I just saw someone yesterday on Facebook that I'm friends with that must have moved down to Florida mark that they were safe from the Ybor City shooting.
Ybor City?
Ybor City is like this small little city of just like nightclubs and stuff right like in or just outside of Tampa. Let me go Google this because
there's been a couple of shootings down in Tampa.
Yeah,
that
let's go
was
see what happened with that one.
Was that the gay bar shooting as well? Was in Florida?
I don't know. I do not.
Club-
I didn't even hear
Club-
about the main one until
Club
like
Q or something.
yesterday or the
Yeah.
day before.
Well, he ended up killing like 18 people. And when these massive tragedies happen, it always happens in like a gun-free zone. It's kinda dumb.
always.
Like even like think of Congressional Hall. It's a gun-free zone, but every single guard has a gun on their hip. Why do you think that is? Because obviously they understand guns are used to protect. That's one of the main purposes. A lot of people, sure, don't want to do what they're supposed to and train properly with a gun, but it is very important to at least understand. It's the same thing that happened with the race riots in Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s. I believe it was like, 73 or something, where you hear these stories about Korean rooftop shooters. These were immigrants who had training at a young age, and they had stories just about them because they had firearms, they got on the rooftops of their buildings, and they kept people away. Their businesses were left alone. And a lot of people don't like to talk, but look at Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, that was a crazy situation, but he was just a 17-year-old kid that had incredible training, and he didn't do anything. He stopped other people from murdering him. He stopped a rapist from raping more children.
He showed a lot of restraint because he could have just, out of fear, started firing that weapon at anybody near him.
Incredible
Yeah, but he
discipline.
ran to police and they pepper sprayed him.
Incredible discipline.
Very, very restrained in that situation and being able to keep his mind calm and not just start firing at anybody near him and only the ones that were an immediate threat to him.
It's incredible.
So-
Even people to this day still talk about it was, I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, and the
No
thing I hate
idea.
is, the one dude only had a skateboard, but then you see
A skateboard
what
can be a deadly
happened.
weapon.
You see videos
see
of
what
what
happens
happens with
with the-
people getting hit with
Yeah,
the trucks.
a guard got hit with a skateboard, and it completely indented his
Yep.
And he's
skull
half-
to where
yeah.
it dug into his brain.
Mm-hmm.
That is the problem with people that are against this stuff. You really don't understand how dangerous everything is. Anything in the world can be used as a weapon. Like if we're in a crowd of people and I threw this phone at your face as hard as I could,
It could kill you.
it absolutely could kill you. If it hits you right here, you're gonna die. It's simple as that. Like,
Or at least be
people don't
concussed and knocked
understand.
out.
Yeah, it only takes a couple pounds of pressure in some of your body parts for a bone to break.
If I think it's 12 pounds per square inch for a human thumb to cave in an eyeball, and that can kill a person. Like, there's stories all over the place. Somebody trips and falls and just lands wrong. You die.
This is why it blows my mind anytime I see a video online of people having a fist fight on concrete when there's grass right next to them. Because if you knock somebody out and they fall back and hit the back of their head, they can easily die.
Oh, yeah.
The back of the head is a very dangerous spot to hit. It's like, just
seen-
go on the
That's why
grass.
you're not
It's much
allowed
seen those
safer.
to
videos.
hit that in boxing and MMA.
Seen that
Yup.
videos? That's the same thing.
That's
with
where that's where they teach us to hit in the Marine Corps. They call it the reset button. If somebody is like trying to like pick you up from the legs, you just right on the
right.
back of their head and neck. Yep, we called it the reset button in the Marine Corps.
I get it. Guns are scary. I get it. But there's far worse things out there.
Like government overreach?
An armed society is a polite society. Look
It
at that-
truly
yeah,
is.
Look at Texas.
It'd be
It
scary
truly
if a
is.
society didn't have arms. People just running around without them, you know?
Well, then we would just give everybody like bionicle, those little clamper things.
So back to the government overreach, besides the Second Amendment, like what else would be good to stop or prevent more government overreach?
Start paying attention. I mean, even if it's just quite literally listening to us speak, we're going to be talking about this stuff.
Less government.
Less government.
I like that.
But
Maybe no government.
I don't know if we're ready for that. Like we were talking before we started
Okay, just a
recording
little bit.
about Chop and Chaz
yeah,
and what
we
was
saw
going
what
on there
happened
with just complete lawlessness. I don't think
we haven't.
somebody eventually would want to take control.
I love the idea of anarchy, but human beings are not consciously ready for such a thing.
Okay, little to no federal
Yes.
government.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that's
very little federal
ridiculous.
government. Give more power to state and local governments, for sure. And that's actually one of the things I got on this like conclusion list. I can bring up in a minute or two when we get there.
But it definitely has to start with people paying attention. Again, totally understand if your life is too crazy or is too hectic and you're doing too much stuff and you're worried about your kids. I get it. You're stuck in the moment. But 15, 20 years from now, look at what your childhood was like. Imagine how much has changed. And now project that onto your children. Imagine, because you're unable to look a little bit further into the future and think what might be best for them in the long run, what their life will be like in 20 years. And then if they do the same thing that you're doing, what the life for their children is going to be like. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where we breed a generation that will be slaves. It just will be.
I mean,
Do
even
you
as,
want to
history repeats
condemn?
itself.
Do you want to condemn the generations of your children's children to that?
do you want to end up becoming kind of like Canada is? You can be up in Canada, you say the wrong thing, straight to jail.
Straight to jail if you go outside and you pray. If you say
You misgender somebody, 2 years in prison.
That's what I mean by
2
saying the
years.
wrong. You say the wrong thing and straight to jail.
"Oh hey, my dude," straight to jail.
Oh wait, dude is gender neutral. We learned this a long time ago with Keenan and Kel. I'm a
did?
dude.
But what about
He's
Jack?
a dude.
She's a dude.
We're all dudes.
dudes.
Hey, I feel like dudette is less gender neutral because I
That
feel
is
like
gendered.
that's specifically referring to I
dudette.
guess female,
So what would a male dude be?
Dude.
male, female,
dude.
they, them. They're all just dude.
Dude is dude.
Even if they're a furry, dude.
Yeah, what up, dude?
What up, dude? Oh, dude.
A dudo?
Just dude.
A dudo?
A dude-a-woodoo?
Just dude.
Yeah, but specifically male.
Unless Canada makes that a word, you can't call anybody because it doesn't apply to any gender. So
It
they're
will.
just like, you can't use it. So straight to jail.
No, it will eventually. Somebody on the internet will cry, and they'll say they called me dude, and I perceive dude as calling me this.
Yeah,
It's
and you
threatening.
can't
And
even,
then a judge will have to rule on it.
you can't even call them fellow human because they might not.
Hello,
They might not
humans.
identify as a human. But that's one of the things is questions like these will have to go in front of a judge, and a judge will have to make a ruling. So we might sit here and say dude is gender neutral, but if somebody cries about it, gets a lawyer, and it goes in front of a judge, that judge will have to make a ruling. Whether it's get out of my courtroom, okay, cool. Now dude absolutely is gender neutral. Or it's dude sounds like it refers to a dude, which is a boy. So, yes.
So yeah, the forced speech, I feel like, is definitely a good example of government overreach, and I really hope it doesn't flood down from across the border in Canada to here. The things happening in Canada right now are definitely good examples of government overreach. I know they're not here in America, but like what they're doing with large podcasts, making large podcasts in Canada basically register as like news organizations, or else they will ban that podcast in Canada.
That kind of comes to the, well, it's happening to my neighbor. It's not going to happen to me. You go
You
into
think.
your apartment, and then one morning you walk outside and you see the secret police dragging your neighbor out of their house. Oh, thank God it wasn't me. It's going to be tomorrow. So whatever's happening at our borders in our neighboring states, neighboring countries, neighboring states, whatever, it floods into other areas. We can't just build a wall and keep it out forever. It's not how human beings work.
So like this, it's like a little conclusion list I have of 10 things. It says basically here, like, in short, unchecked growth of federal power without a countervailing state power restricts individual liberty and threatens tyranny. For example, without a state check on its power, the federal government may dictate school curriculum, testing, lunch menus, and transgender use of bathrooms and locker rooms. 2, it may prohibit mining and burning coal. Say certain states are 100% okay with that, but the federal government comes in and says, hey, we don't want you doing that anymore. This third one we actually already talked about, regulating ditches and canals as waters of the U.S., revoke accreditations of colleges whose standards are not politically correct.
Whoa.
That could very much happen with government overreach.
Accreditations?
Yes, I believe most colleges are accredited.
Is this theory? Like,
yes, these are like
portion?
theory,
Okay.
but number 3 that I just listed off is not theory because of the WOTUS thing we just covered. But these are things, it's like in theory, things that could happen with government overreach if states don't have power to put the federal government in check. And that would be very scary if we started seeing number 4, if they started revoking accreditations for colleges because they weren't politically correct. We're seeing something similar, not taking away college accreditations in Canada, but look what they're doing to Jordan Peterson to re-educate him and trying to take his license to practice psychology.
He put that video live on the internet. It's on YouTube. He only agreed to the re-education
if he can
they
live stream
agreed
it
to it to be put on. Yeah. So he put the video on YouTube so everybody could see what the re-education was.
So that actual re-education video is up now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been up for a little while.
I'm going to have to go check that out.
It was one of those things that was kind of buried in the algorithm.
Yep, because didn't hear about it, and I watch him all the time.
Yep. And, I mean, Dr. Jordan Peterson has been talking about the slippery slope of criminalizing language in 2016 when the C-16 bill came forward. Ever since...
Whoa.
Go in.
No, the stem probably died.
Huh?
Which is weird because I had it...
Oh, there's a battery in that?
Yeah. Or maybe it just kind of... hold on, people. We're flying through a tunnel right now. Hold on, let it go. Did it grab again? No. Here, let me see. Turn it off.
I can just hold it for you for the rest of the time.
No. Is there a light down here?
Yeah, that light does not seem to be on.
Okay. Now, turn it back. Let go.
And it's blue. Hey.
Not sure. Oh.
Oh.
Not enough power to hold it up.
Huh.
Okay. I had it, well, we'll just do the widescreen then.
Yeah, because what are we at? What are we at time-wise?
Oh, it stopped recording as well. And I completely forgot.
It was just recording a minute ago. If you want to try to get it back re-recording again, you might be able to use this at a weird angle.
Nah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get this figured out.
So what were you just saying?
Completely forgot.
You just mentioned something about Jordan Peterson, and then you...
he was speaking out about C-16 back in 2016.
C-16, what is that?
It's the bill in Canada. I don't know too much about it. I didn't dive, but it was the bill that came forward in Canada that was restricting speech. And Dr. Jordan Peterson was one of the only credentialed psychologists or anybody that really had, any kind of skin in the game about it to come forward and say, this is a very bad idea. You don't know what kind of slope you're going to throw us down if you start saying certain speech is not allowed.
Okay, so here's a very brief overview of C-16, because I didn't know about this bill. Bill C-16 added the words gender identity or expression to 3 places. First, it was added to the Canadian Human Rights Act, joining a list of identifiable groups that are protected from discrimination. These groups include age, race, sex, religion, and disability, among others.
Is this the original, or does this have like a date of edit?
I'm not seeing a data edit on here. This is just, I didn't actually click on the website. This other one says the law adds gender expression and gender identity as protected grounds to the Canadian Human Rights Act and also to the criminal code provisions dealing with hate propaganda, incitement to genocide, and aggravated factors in sentencing.
So I believe that's one of the sections that he was most concerned about was hate speech. So what would constitute hate speech was his argument, and misgendering. It's incredibly hard for a society that has this compulsory adaptation to us to where we can just look at somebody and our brains will just say he.
Yeah, because we can't ask everybody before every single conversation with every single person what you identify as.
His argument was, if I were to misgender you and you consider that hate speech, I will lose my license for making a mistake.
I've been misgendered multiple times from behind in my life because my hair is down to my ass now.
But you've never felt like it was purposeful.
When Erica and I were to the liquor store over here on the corner of Gray Street and Hoffman, I had my back turned to the register, and the lady behind the register said, "Are you ladies ready to check out?" I turned around. I was like, "Oh, I am." And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I said, "No, I mean, it's okay. I got long hair." I got misgendered in Minnesota walking back to the carnival site because there was someone's family that lived near the site of the carnival we were working at. And I had on a long red skirt that came down to my ankles. Laugh about it.
No, that's called a dress. It went down to your ankles?
Yeah.
That's a dress.
Well, I thought a dress covered the whole thing, top and bottom.
I don't know.
This is just a skirt, and it had jangles on it too, so it made some noise when I shook my hips. But anyways, like, you can laugh at me if you want, but you've never felt freedom till you feel a cool breeze blow past your cock and balls on a nice hot day. That's freedom up there.
I've heard kilts are fantastic.
I mean, they were originally designed for men because we got a little dangly down there. Yeah. Women don't. We need that more openness. But anyways, there was these like 3 kids walking by. It was me, Erica, and there was like 2 other girls walking back with us that were working the carnival too. And these kids were like, "Oh, hey, ladies." And I just turned and went, "What's up?" And then they got real quiet real fast, hearing a man's voice come from a group of women.
Yeah, I've had the same treatment. I used to have my hair down to about the middle of my back, and I had it straightened, like flat ironed. And
how long ago was that? Because last I remember, yours might have been like down here.
2015.
You do be picking the strangest haircuts.
Now I just barely have any hair.
Yeah, which is still kind of strange.
But I'm about to shape the whole thing off.
No.
That's my plan when I hit like 40.
Bald? No, don't do it.
I actually pull it off.
I might do a mohawk.
Yeah,
I pull it off.
It sucks. It's awful having to shave your head constantly. I'm telling you, the first time you get sunburned.
No, I kind of want to just start over.
Oh yeah, sunburning a bald head is the worst. When I used to bick my head, it's terrible.
Burns so bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
I just gotta wear my do-rag.
Yeah, you do. It better have a Yankee sign on it.
You might look funny with a do-rag on.
I'd be down for it.
So a couple more hypothetical examples of unchecked government overreach if states can't put the federal government in check. Another one would be force private religious employers to provide contraceptive services, because that's obviously against their religion to do things like that. Another one, dictate overtime pay in private employment. That one, if there's private employment that wasn't wanting to pay extra overtime, that one may be somewhat beneficial if the government were to step in and say, no, these people deserve more overtime pay for working more than 40 hours.
Maybe just the way it's worded sounded weird.
Maybe.
Say it again.
It just says dictate overtime pay in private employment.
Well, at the same time, I don't think overtime pay I don't think it should be a thing.
No?
No.
for working more than 40.
Yeah,
I mean, just the
I don't get it.
40-hour work week itself is kind of strange. I don't think we're designed for certain things like that, depending. I don't know.
I'd like a 20-hour work week where I'm still getting paid the same amount I work.
If it's something that you don't enjoy or have a passion in, I don't know. It's hard to say because there's farmers all across the country that are working like 100-hour work weeks. So it's difficult to say. But working 40-plus hours in like a burger joint, shit's for the birds.
I'd work 40 hours delivering pizza if I could just sit in my car in between deliveries and they bring the pizza out to me, because then I'd just sit in my car jamming.
Bro, we're headed there soon.
Wait,
We're
what?
headed there. We're probably headed there soon.
What do you mean?
Like, look at how things... Like, you don't even... If the ticket says contactless delivery, you literally just take it, throw it on their porch, and leave.
Yeah, but if I were to just sit in my car in between deliveries...
Yeah, he's saying a worker come
Yeah.
out and be like, okay, here,
Bring me
go,
the-
Adam, here.
Well, at that point, we won't need humans anymore. Because we'll just have robocars.
Domino's has a prototype for that already. Self-delivering cars. But my thing is, if I could just sit in my car for the 40-hour work week, because that's one thing I do like about delivering pizza. I'm
you'd
a
probably do it for
mellow
60 hours.
I'm a mellophile, so I like to jam, and I jam hard when I'm delivering pizza.
Didn't California Department of Motor Vehicles just actually end their robotaxi thing?
Because it ran over
Because it ran somebody over and dragged them
for
20
an additional
feet.
20 feet before it...
I didn't even know they
Yeah,
had
before it
robotaxis.
realized there was
Exactly.
someone under there
Yeah, there's
screaming
robotaxis.
for help.
Shit.
Because it pinned their leg to the ground and they're in critical... They were rushed to the hospital
Holy
in critical
shnikes.
condition. Yeah,
I mean,
see
New
that.
York
Wow.
City has... they bought 2 robo-dogs for their police force, and they just bought a subway patrol robot. I am so ready for that thing to get shoved onto the train tracks.
I would
Bro.
be New York. People from New York City are a different breed, man. So I wouldn't doubt if something like that ever
And
happened.
the fact
Somebody's just going to steal it.
the fact that they're trying to implement cold, emotionless robots that won't give a fuck about you.
Does it have a gun on it?
No.
no,
Oh.
not
Eventually
yet.
it will, though.
Not
yeah,
yet.
Eventually
yeah,
it will.
Of course.
But it's so ironic that we're headed towards this, like, it feels like we're headed to some sort of dystopian, like, Orwellian bullshit that they would try to implement robotic, emotionless police enforcement in the worst crime-ridden places. It's like,
There are some things that should not be automated.
yeah, we're lenient on crime, and we just want people to live their lives. But we're going to give you this emotionless robot that's not going to give a fuck about you.
Yeah, like the one dude, the gas station owner that the dude came in and was like strangling him or whatever he was doing, and then he stabbed him and killed him. He almost got in trouble for it. He got arrested for killing the dude that was trying to kill him.
That's wild. Whatever
Yeah,
happened to
I don't
self-defense?
Remember this?
Yeah, it was
A lot of
he-
places don't recognize
yeah,
self-defense.
he was. It was a while ago.
Which is
6 months back.
wild.
I wonder if those dudes from the 7-Eleven down in Brooklyn, I think it was down in Brooklyn, ever got in trouble for beating the piss out of that guy with a mop stick or broomstick. Did you see that video?
I
The
did.
guy came
Was-
in and he was trying to steal a bunch of cigarettes from behind
Yeah.
the
Was
counter.
it where he had like the trash bin and he was
Yes.
just
Yep.
shoveling?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Look, I don't condone violence, but also
In that sense,
something like that, I guarantee you that gentleman doesn't try to pull some shit like that again.
No, he absolutely is going to
Oh,
because he's
yeah.
going to sue the city and he's going to sue those owners.
I don't know,
And
man.
it's New York City, so he's probably going to win.
I
This
hope-
is
I hope he
why
doesn't.
we need to stop this bullshit. This is ridiculous. If you go into a store and then people are going to cry, oh, he's just trying to feed his family.
With
with
beer?
Marlboros?
With cigarettes?
Marlboros? Cool story,
feeding
bro.
his kids beer?
Yeah. Oh, he's displaced and he doesn't have the opportunities that we do. I don't care. Why does that matter? I don't care. So what? Send him to rehabilitation then. Or get him out of the city. I don't care.
How does he not have the same opportunities as everybody
Yeah.
else? Everybody has the opportunity to go find employment.
You're conjecturally giving him an excuse to be an awful human being. That's not how it works.
I don't even know why people argue for that.
For which part?
Where homeless people go and commit crime, and they're like, well, they're just trying to. Why do they argue that? Where they're just trying to provide for their family, or low income,
because they
kill
feel,
and rob and steal.
They feel bad for them because they don't have a job, they don't have the means to provide for themselves, so they feel that the only option they have is to steal. So it's not his choice. This is all he can do.
No,
or he'll die.
When they steal stuff that makes no sense, like Nikes.
Oh, stuff like that.
How do they?
The only time I feel
Because
like it
they
would
don't
make
pay
sense is
attention.
if they're actually stealing food to eat.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It's because they're not paying attention. I got into this argument.
I mean, one could argue they're trying to sell the Nikes, but if you're trying to eat, why not just steal the food there, and then you don't have to worry about running and trying to sell the Nikes because it's going to take you much longer to get the food you're looking
And then
for.
the person who bought the Nikes, they'd get in trouble.
But I got into this exact argument a couple months ago where somebody posted something on Twitter, and it was a picture. The police station posted a photo saying, glad we finally got rid of this person. She got arrested like 3 or 4 times from robbing the same store, right? And then people all in the comments were talking about, how dare you, she's just trying to provide for her family and she just wants to feed her children. But in the photo, it's like condoms, KY jelly, Glade plugins. And it's like,
well,
no.
if she's a hooker, then yeah, she's trying to feed her family.
Right. But it's still not like, because in the front of the photo there was some food, people were so narrowly minded, focused on
Was that front and center?
Yeah, it was like, okay, so you don't see the KY jelly, you don't see the Glade plugins, you don't see the condoms,
It's all part
you
of her
don't
job.
see all this other stuff that has nothing to do with food.
Or even surviving at that.
And they throw in all this
Blankets,
added
clothes,
stuff. They throw in all this added
sure.
stuff. There's literally nothing in the article that says she was stealing to feed kids. You have no idea if she has kids.
Mm-hmm.
You just made that story up in your mind because it makes you fucking feel good. And it says she was arrested 3 times from stealing from the same store. So if I'm going to think critically, I'm going to say this woman has a kleptomania problem. And if she really wanted to feed her kids, she would pick a different store and steal only food. Mm-hmm. I'll feel bad for somebody who legitimately has kids waiting at the corner, waiting for their mom to get back out of the store, and she's carrying just food. Yeah. But you come out carrying Glade plugins and condoms, fuck you.
It's part of her job.
Maybe they're
job.
part of her diet.
Yes, she needed the condoms so that the cocaine bubbles that she has to swallow to smuggle across the border go down easier. That's
Makes
why.
sense. Makes sense. And that way, nice and it doesn't dirty up the cocaine when it comes out the other end when you got to get it out.
Yeah. I hope they all burst in her gut.
All right, what do you say we get wrapping this up?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
You
couple
read this
more
time.
small examples of the government overreach on here, but like the last few were governments could revoke tax exemptions, protect wildlife that damages properties or threatens domestic livestock, force one-size-fits-all health care plans, and limit use of public lands and so forth. Those are some other small hypotheticals that governments could overreach if not checked by state and local governments. But yeah, I think we can kind of wrap it up here. Maybe our next episode we can actually do a full 2A. I'm kind of cool with it.
I really...
2A and different gun violence statistics.
If we do a 2A episode...
It's going to be a lot of research.
Absolutely have to have one of the local shop owners. I feel like that would be very important. And... well, we wouldn't have to. We could just do a ton of research. Mm-hmm. There's so much out there.
I mean, we have a whole week. We can find statistics on violence and deaths and, bring to the table why it's important that we have this amendment in our Constitution, what would happen if this amendment was revoked and they did take our weapons.
Why the founding fathers put it in there. Like,
the way that they...
for a reason.
Yeah, the reason why they wrote it the way they wrote it. What it meant when it was originally written, because a lot of people don't understand that there were privateers and people who owned cannons
Yeah.
when they think
Back then,
they
they
just
were the
meant
weapons of mass
muskets.
destruction.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
They-
mind a cannon. That would be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
but they're-
Have cannons out of my window.
for sure. But that was one of the things. People just assume all they had were muskets. No, motherfucker.
Is that a freaking
there
musket?
were people who had cannons.
And they even had like machine guns. Like
Yeah, those little
the early
crank,
works.
the
They
crank
were like
ones,
in the
right?
early 1800s. So
where
there had
you-
to have been people working on that.
I think the
that
very
time.
first one was like
I know
right
they were
around
used in World War One for sure. Where
right
you
in the late
crank them and they
1600s, where it was one of the crank ones and things like that. They had earlier models where it was harder to load, so they had like the single barrel, and they would load them all and then just. But then they would have to take
reload
time
again.
to. Yeah,
So it's almost like shooting through like a full magazine and then having to.
to reload.
But
and
instead of
reload
just
stuff.
sticking another magazine
Yes.
in there, you got to reload each round into it.
But there's absolutely a reason why the founding fathers didn't write, "We have a right to bear muskets, bear arms,
Yeah.
not
Or
muskets."
guns.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't
'Cause
write,
who
they didn't
knows?
write guns.
So there's always the argument: do you think every human being should be allowed the right to own a nuke? Well,
Probably not.
in the future, we may be heading to that place where small nuclear reactors to run your home.
That
Well,
would be cool,
you would
but
have
not
to
a
have the right
nuclear
to own.
weapon.
Right.
I don't think most of us would be responsible enough.
No, absolutely not. There'd be kids outside throwing fucking isotope 323 at each other or something. Hey, Johnny!
Dead.
Just monsters.
Dead. All right. So
Do
we'll
it.
get-
I think-
we'll
run
get-
through it.
We'll get wrapping it up.
Yeah, this is we're gonna end it.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
forget
Yes,
to
sir.
like, comment, share, subscribe, smash the like button.
Yeah, elbow drop that like button.
Check us
right
out
in the
on
face.
Rumble, Instagram, eventually, YouTube, Facebook.
TikTok at some
TikTok
point, but
is
I don't think any of us
coming
want the
at
Chinese
some
spy
point.
software.
We'll get a burner. We'll get a burner.
You know how sad it is that we actually have to say that just to be on a social media platform, that we have to say we're going to buy
A
a
burner.
fake
Separate
phone.
device.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing.
Yep.
That's a thing that we actually have to
Yep.
do.
Create a whole separate email from our normal email and
Not connected to
Anything
anything
else.
Yeah.
Like, I won't even send myself an email. From
Like,
that
not our
phone.
name,
Yeah.
not our
Nothing.
phone number, nothing.
That's
we don't want to
crazy.
connect to us at all.
But there's some parents out here that are like, "Yeah, little Johnny." Sure.
TikTok it up. I like to call it.
Ticky-tacky.
I like to call it TikTok because TikTok time's running out before humanity's completely doomed.
I think we're getting close.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all done.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, everybody, come again next week. We're gonna have some fun ones.
How about
Peace.
bye bye.
Yeah, instead of welcome, goodbye.
I will make 45 accounts and say that is the worst thing ever.
I'll figure out a two.
No. Yeah,
Done.
we're done, right?
Done.
Okay, done.
Done. Yeah, I don't know why we're clapping, but I like it.